From the heart of Boone, North Carolina, the mountains of Northwest North Carolina, one more time at Kidd Brewer Stadium for the Mountaineers of Appalachian State as they get set to play host to Old Dominion one last time through the chute here at the Rock for 2022 Senior Day here in the High Country to boot. A pleasant good afternoon to you. I am David Jackson alongside Avery Hall. We are glad you are with us today for Sun Belt Conference football as Old Dominion and App State meet for the third time, but for the first time as conference rivals. And Avery, everybody talking about postseason opportunities at this time of year. Old Dominion may be eliminated from that, but Appalachian State still has something to play for.
Appalachian State has a lot to play for. Obviously, they've got to win the last two football games because they had two FCS wins earlier in the season, so they've got to win these last two football games, but that's a lot to play for.
You look at the way the Mountaineers are going to try to do that today. Defensive weaponry can be part of the equation. Dexter Lawson, Stephen Jones Jr., they have 10 combined interceptions between the two of them in their careers. They're going to be going against a passing attack today that's just outside the top 50 in the country.
I tell you what, Dexter Lawson and Stephen Jones will be absolutely busy today. They've had a hard time running the football here lately, so they will put the football in the air today. They're going to rely on Isaiah Page and Marquez Bell as well as Jordan Bly, but they will throw the football a lot. So Dexter Lawson and Stephen Jones will have to be on their A game today.
Speaking of defensive prowess, how about Jason Henderson, one of the best tacklers in the country, one of the best ever to do it at the FBS level. He's already set a Sun Belt single season record. The FBS level is within his sights.
Hey, to put things in proper perspective about this young man, Jason Henderson, he's averaging 16.6 tackles per game. Luke Kuechly, who played for the Carolina Panthers, averaged 15.9 tackles per game his senior year at Boston College. This guy, Jason Henderson, is a tackling machine.
Henderson needs 27 stops in the last 2 weeks to get the FBS single season record. As you take a look at Chili Boone, he's going to have to do it in a cold environment here today. 40 degrees, partly sunny. The feels like temperature may drop as the day goes on. Sun getting ready to set behind the stadium here. That means the temperature will head down, and we expect a chilly one here today as Old Dominion and App State play, like I said a moment ago, for the third time in series history, but the first time this late in the year. And this is one of those great Sun Belt East matchups that brings some proximity to things as well. A lot of Old Dominion fans in the stands here at the Rock. We are ready for kickoff as the Mountaineers will boot it away, and Senior Day 2022 underway here at Kidd Brewer Stadium. We are glad you are with us, and to set that scene one more time here for Old Dominion. They are a club that, again, has had some struggles from the offensive side especially. They have not scored a touchdown in 10 and a half quarters of football. And you look at James Madison last week, only a field goal, Avery. This was a one-sided football game.
It really was, and it was shocking because JMU held ODU to 237 yards of total offense. And obviously, Blake Watson couldn't get going. I mean, he was, 12 for 22 running the football. So you best believe they're going to try and throw the football today to right the ship.
Hayden Wolf, the redshirt sophomore out of Venice, Florida, getting the cold weather start. His first handoff to Blake Watson, who gets some initial penetration before running into that Mountaineer linebacking core. About 5 yards for Watson on first down. Watson only needs about 35 yards in this game for 2,000 for his Monarch career. He comes into play today just under 82 yards a game. That is fourth best in the Sun Belt in running the football. Wolf to pass for the first time today and nearly throws an interception. There's Stephen Jones Jr., Avery Hall. You know he's going to be sitting on that crossing route all day long.
He's excited about it. And it's not to say that Hayden Wolf doesn't have the arm strength, but obviously it's glaring that he's had a difficult time with that throw. So Stephen Jones is looking to jump that route all day long today.
Wolf facing 3rd down and 5 opening possession. Mentioned he's from Venice, Florida. He told some media members earlier in the year, cold weather, not his thing. He's going to have a steady diet of chilly hits today as you see the crossing route to Bly short of the first down. Old Dominion giving positive progress to the 21. Kashawn Brown in on the stop for App State. And the Mountaineers force a 3 and out. That's significant because this is the first time since the Troy ball game, Avery Hall, that App State has not seen their Sun Belt opponent score first in a league game.
And that's a good sign for Appalachian. In particular, that's a great sign stopping them on 3rd down because they've been allowing teams to convert 40% of the time on 3rd down. And when teams can keep the ball moving and moving those chains, it's been awfully tough for the Mountaineer defense.
Ethan Duane, the Aussie punter, boots one away, and that ball comes out. The Mountaineers able to recover, or will they? At the 10-yard line, it looks like the Abs did get to it. And that is DJ Van Hook that goes back and gets the ball that slipped through the wickets of Tyler Page. So again, cold weather, Avery, slick hands, ball security is going to be a factor here today.
It definitely will, and obviously everyone knows this. When it's cold out, that ball, that leather is extremely slick. It's comparable to when it rains. So that's why you don't want your running backs and your receivers wearing sleeves and things of that nature. You don't want to put them Vaseline on their arms to block in the pores. But the ball can be pretty slippery on a cold day like today.
Chase Bryce, his first snaps on senior day, his final home game. We'll talk more about that as things go on. He's looking to pass on the first play of the game, and he's got a man in stride. That's Robinson across midfield. First down, black and gold into Old Dominion territory on the first play of the game.
That was a really great throw for David Jackson. But it started up front with great protection by the offensive line. If you take a look here, Chase was able to step into his throw, give his receiver time enough to get down into that route, because that's a deep corner route. Again, just a great pass protection, great throw, great catch.
Nate Noel, the pistol back, first down and 10 for App State just outside the Old Dominion 30 as Noel gets the carry inside the 30-yard line. Noel getting the start. No Cam Peoples today. He did not practice all week. He dressed out today, but is not expected to get any carries, nor will the Mountaineers see Nick Hampton. Both of these teams faced with big chunks of one side of the football out. That really showing up defensively for App State. No Trey Cobb, no Brendan Harrington. He's been out for a while. No Nick Hampton. On the other side of the football, Old Dominion with some offensive weaponry that's out that we'll talk about as the day goes on. Noel with the nifty one-handed catch there inside the 25-yard line. That'll leave third and short. And this is a significant improvement here, too, because last week for App State against Marshall, their average third down play, Avery, was 3rd and 8. Already we see 3rd and short for App, which is, again, something that Kevin Barbe harped on early.
You know, people talking about staying on schedule. Staying on schedule in college football means getting at least 3 yards on first down and second down so that you can have a favorable call on third down. It's hard to make a call on 3rd and 8. You don't have many plays in the playbook, so that's what it means by staying on schedule.
Datrick Harrington into the secondary on 3rd down and short. That's a 1st and goal situation for the black and gold on their opening drive.
You know, I tell you what, the Appalachian State Mountaineers started this game off strategically in the right way. They go with a long play to stretch to defense, get the safeties, thinking about covering Caden Robinson and Deshaun Davis and Christian Horn and Christian Wells. And now they're giving this Old Dominion team a heavy dose of running, and the offensive line is doing a pretty good job right now.
1st and goal from just inside the 10. Handoff goes to Harrington again. That same pathway, and the ball pops out again. Loose on the football. It looks like the Apps fall on it with Cooper Hodges circling over the errant football. That's twice the Mountaineers have put it on the carpet here, and that'll back them up to the 14-yard line.
Good pursuit by the defensive end, and I think that ball did come out before he stepped out of bounds. I don't think so, but I was thinking that he was out of bounds prior, you know, when it's a bang play, David Jackson. But when you look at that play on the replay, it doesn't look like he was out of bounds. But I'm sure the Mountaineers will take that call.
It's about a 4.5, 5-yard difference.
Let's see here. If you take a look, that ball's out. He's not out of bounds. So again, that was a favorable call for the Mountaineers.
And the ball stayed in bounds too, so that makes it live, and Mountaineers get about a 5-yard cushion. Here's Bryce looking for Noel again. Shakes a tackler, still on his feet, and Tobias Harris is grasped finally enough to pull him down. So that'll bring up 3rd down for the Mountaineers, and back to about that 3rd down and 10 again, Avery.
I tell you, you know, again, 3rd and goal, 3rd and 10 makes for a hard play call, particularly in the red zone, where you got not a lot of real estate to work with relative to routes for your receivers. Defensive line, they put more in the box when it comes to the front 7. So again, now Devin Brandy, Alonzo Ford, and Tyree Bibby, Marcus Newman, these guys can kind of go off because no back in the backfield. They know he's going to probably throw the ball, so they can kind of go off up here.
Bryce steps up and is taken down. Alonzo Ford gets to him on the QB sneak. It looked like it was about to turn into a QB run after Bryce was bottled up in the passing game. Old Dominion with the second best red zone defense in the conference heading into play today. And you know, you look at their numbers and they've got some porous defense at times, but they don't give up a lot of points. Only about 26.5 per game. That's middle of the road in the league. So for just the third time now this year, a field goal attempt from the 18-yard line. 28-yard pop is up and good for Michael Hughes, and the Mountaineers put points on the board here on the opening drive. 10-11 to play in the first quarter. 3-0, home team on Senior Day at the Rock. We are back at Kid Brewer Stadium, 3-0. App State on top. 27-yard field goal officially out of Michael Hughes. Ricky Ronnie, the third-year head coach of Old Dominion, he was the offensive coordinator at Penn State when App State played the Nittany Lions back in 2017. He said that he thought he was going to get run out of town because the Mountaineers took that game to overtime, and then he later thought that, hey, looking back in the rear view, that might have been one of the best wins for Penn State in all of 2017. On the flip side of that, you've got Sean Clark, the head coach of the Mountaineers of Appalachian State. He had to go back into the Jerry Moore motivational well this week. He gave the "what do you want to be remembered for" speech to his team back on Sunday, urging them to finish strong. Words out of the Hall of Fame coach for sure. Close to 30 seniors honored today by the Mountaineers and their staff, and that kind of brings back some of those old Coach Moore motivational messages, not only to those guys on the field, but alums like you too, Avery. I'm sure that you could probably flip through your Coach Moore saying book and come up with the right message for the right time right now.
Speaking of Coach Jerry Moore, I was fortunate enough. Of course, my son was recognized before the game. I got a chance to see Coach Moore. I gave him a hug, and we talked about trying to get a few of the old players together. And, you know, Coach Moore, he had sayings that I still think of or use today, and it's not something forced. It just rolls off my thought process naturally because it was who he was, and he was consistent around, you know, doing more than what's expected. You know, finishing your job. Don't spit the bit out when the tough gets going. When the going gets tough, the tough gets going. Just little sayings like that, and they just kind of stay with you. They resonate in your mind and help you throughout your entire life.
Sean Clark, of course, a player for Jerry Moore back in the late 90s. Hayden Wolf finding Marquez Bell on first down, and then he's brought down again. And this has become a problem as Jalen McLeod gets to the quarterback. That is the 30th sack allowed by the Old Dominion offensive front. That is 10th in the league, down in the lower third of all of the country. Last week, Hayden Wolf was sacked 4 different times for a loss of 21 total yards against JMU.
Outstanding move by Jalen McLeod. They showed a replay, but He got underneath number 53, Kadir Kunta. I mean, just an outstanding grip technique and getting inside and making a play.
8-yard loss. It's Watson out of the running back spot now, trying to get some of those yards back. You'll get to the 30-yard line. Blake Watson, the redshirt junior's got a North Carolina tie. He went to Green Hope High School down in the Raleigh area. His parents bounced around a little bit. His folks actually met at Rikers Island. They were both corrections officers. They moved to just outside Austin, Texas, wanted a little Friday Night Lights vibe for their family. Brad Watson, that is the brother of Blake Watson, ends up going to Wake Forest to play football, so they moved the family to North Carolina, settled at Green Hope, where Blake Watson was a tremendous running back, and that leads him up I-95 to Old Dominion, where he has been a star running back for the Monarchs.
I know his parents are proud. I mean, he's had a pretty good career. I mean, over 2,000 yards, 14 touchdowns in his short career, averaging about 81 yards per game. But Dave, he plays even better in the Sun Belt games. Wow.
That's a 3rd and 14 home run ball down the sideline to Javon Harvey. Complete inside the 25-yard line. They'll mark him at the 21, and that's a first down, knocking on the door of the red zone for Old Dominion.
Wow, just a nice touch pass there. When I say touch pass, he had to kind of throw to an area, and Javon Harvey did a great job of running underneath that one. You know, and you know, Old Dominion was worried about replacing Ali Jennings and his production. Ali Jennings had more than 5 games with over 100 yards. I mean, and I'm talking in the big games. Virginia Tech, UVA had big chunks, but Harvey,
Clark puts it on the ground. That ball's recovered by App State. Mountaineers recover the football. At the bottom of the pile is Hansky Palant, getting the senior day activity in the takeaway game. Brendan Clark tried to run that football and had it popped out from behind. Palant jumped on it right on the turf.
I tell you, that's a good start for Appalachian. You know, in the 5 losses that they've had, they've been -2 in the turnover margin, and that's a good sign that they can take advantage of a turnover early in this football game.
That's the 3rd time that we have seen the ball come out of the hands of these two respective teams here in the opening 4 minutes of this football game.
When it's cold, that ball is slippery. I mean, it's really slippery. Your hands are hard, your hands are cold, and but you can't put, you know, a lot of these guys don't want to wear gloves, and obviously, you know, they don't have sleeves on, but that ball is definitely slippery when it's colder.
19th turnover this year for Old Dominion. As good as their defense is at taking it away, their offense has been that slippery with the football all year long. They came in even in turnover margin, and right now having to fight from behind there. Nate Noel with a 2-yard carry for App State. Mountaineers on the board with that 27-yard field goal from Michael Hughes on their opening drive, added again here against the Monarchs.
Appalachian opened up nicely with a long pass to kind of get the ball game going, but they've been going with a heavy dose of running here lately.
Noel again, great block on the outside, but can't get outside the grasp of Arterian Johnson, the redshirt senior out of Mississippi Gulf Coast. 10 tackles last week against James Madison, had a 30-yard interception, tackle for loss. It was his career game coming at the end of his very brief Old Dominion career as well.
I tell you, Old Dominion is actually playing up front. They had 10 starters back on this defensive unit at the beginning of the year, but they had a ton of injuries, so it's kind of hard to keep up with the depth chart. But they do rotate a lot on the front 7, but they've got a lot of they're playing pretty well up front right now.
3rd down and 5, and a great clamp down off the edge by Sean Asbury, the sophomore out of Stafford, Virginia. He's a Boston College transfer. He was able to get around the front of the receiver and slap that one away from Tyler Page.
You know, I mean, I know the score is 3-0 early in this ball game, but, you know, Sean Clark has to kind of want to probably look to motivate this Appalachian Mountaineer offense, because, again, that's another 3, not necessarily, well, that's another 3 and out, but not a situation where they didn't convert on 3rd down, and they want to really get better on 3rd down if they're going to have some success in these last 2 football games.
Dangerous scenario here as Howell boots this football away. Isaiah Page has got some jets. A nice Appalachian bounce inside the 30-yard line. It'll roll out at the 24. That's where Old Dominion will have the football when we come back to the Rock. 6:50 to go. Opening quarter. 3-0. App State on top.
Congratulations. Thanks to Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist for sponsoring the Opening Drive Challenge. And now, fans, please welcome to the field members of the 145th Airlift Wing of the North Carolina Air National Guard. App State is taking this moment to thank the 145th Airlift Wing for supporting today's flyover. And on the field today is Colonel Marshall Halen, Master Sergeant Nate Dennis, Master Sergeant Joe Burris, and Airman First Class Noah Cummins. We're also giving a special shout-out to the 2004 Apple Love, Captain Raleigh White, and current student senior airman Alex Fraser, who are on the plane. Let's hear it one more time for today's flyover crew.
Hey, last week, App State taking on Marshall. Talk about rivalry football and a little bit too much thundering herd in the end zone. App State gave up 341 yards of total offense, a pair of turnovers, 2 of 6 on third down in the second half. Those third down woes continued. Marshall ends up with a one-possession win. Boy, some tight games between these two as they've started playing again. You know that'll heat up in Sun Belt Conference play now as they are league members for the first time since 1996. That kept App State 2 wins away from bowl eligibility, as Avery alluded to earlier, 2 FCS games, partly due to Marshall. As a matter of fact, all to do with Marshall. Marshall came in the league, and that left a scheduling gap that saw Doug Gillen have to schedule another game very late in the clock. And that's where Robert Morris came from a couple of weeks ago. So the Mountaineers have to do a little extra work to get that bowl eligibility. Old Dominion just eliminated last week. They got hot late last year, Avery. They were one of the talks of college football. Won 5 straight down the stretch to get to the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Ricky Ronnie thought he had it all set up once again after they beat Coastal, but just not in the cards for Old Dominion this year.
And I tell you what's impressive about last year. They were 1-11, I think, the year before Ronnie got there, and he turned them around, got them to the bowl game, and they finished the year very strong. So that was pretty impressive by the Monarchs last year.
Hayden Wolf back in at quarterback, connects with Marquez Bell. That's good for another Old Dominion first down. And Wolf 3 of 5 in the passing game for 59 yards thus far, as Old Dominion moves a little closer to midfield. Again, another costly turnover by the Monarchs on their last possession. Saw a good drive stymied just inside the Mountaineer red zone.
Appalachian needs to do a better job of taking advantage of those turnovers. That's an added possession, and if you look at it, most of these teams are going to have about 12 possessions in the game, and Appalachian needs to do a better converting on those.
Watson
turnovers.
up the middle, fights off of a tackler, and it's ripped down by Caden Sullivan at the last moment. 4-yard pickup for Watson on first down. We mentioned that Hayden Wolf is a Venice guy out of Venice, Florida, starting quarterback during that hot streak last year. Averaged 256 yards, 9 touchdowns, 7 interceptions over the last 7 ball games. He won 5 of them, got Old Dominion to that bowl game.
You think about it, too. He's dropping back to pass here. He's got a pretty big offensive line. He's got a big offensive line in front of him. You got 6'6", 306, Kadur Cantu at left tackle. Tyron Hunt, 6'7", 313 at left guard. And then on the right side, you got a 6'6", 316-pound tackle in Nick Salvadori. And then Leroy Thomas is 6'3", 290 at guard. So he's got a big line in front of him, but a bunch of big guys to protect him. But they've still been looking for some consistency on that offensive line.
Well, and they've been looking for him to be a little bit more mobile as well. You saw the scramble play there to set up 3rd down and 5. Couple step drop, got some opportunity to run for the first down, and will get that and more. Hayden Wolf moves the chains with his feet, and Old Dominion in business near midfield. He wanted to improve his durability during the offseason. He actually called Ricky Ronnie. He was at the coaches convention right around the 1st of January. He said, "Coach, I am going to dedicate myself to being a more durable player," and with that came mobility. So he perfected the steak dinner. He ate a lot of steak, a lot of chicken in the offseason. He ended up bulking up a little bit, and that durability has been helpful because he's been sacked 30 times this year and has not been able to be as mobile and be as much of a part of the run game as was originally designed.
And he's also 6'5", 235. He's a big quarterback. I mean, it may not look like it on television, but he's a big kid.
As that ball knocked loose, had to hop back on it quickly as again Caden Sullivan wins the race to the quarterback. And now the 4th time that the ball has been dislodged here in the opening quarter. This time Hayden Wolf able to pounce on it and keep the ball for the Old Dominion Monarchs.
Well, in this Appalachian defense, I mean, it's known for creating havoc plays, whether it's a sack, whether it's a tackle for a loss, whether it's a forced fumble. And they're just taking advantage of opportunities of Wolf and other Monarchs holding that ball kind of loosely here. But again, you're also seeing evidence of inconsistency on that offensive line, them not knowing their blocking schemes or knowing who's picking up who on a blitz.
2nd and 19 on the pump fake. There's Bly. That ball is tipped and nearly picked off. Intended target, Jordan Bly down the sideline. He wanted some sort of interference call. Had a step on the Mountaineer defense, but the Charlotte native couldn't haul it in. That'll bring up 3rd down and a mile.
Stephen Jones did a pretty good job of recovering from that because he was actually beaten. If you take a look here, he was actually beaten. He does a good job of recovering and using that long arm to knock the ball down without getting there a little. Ooh, he got there a little early. But maybe they didn't see it from the vantage point that the refs were at. But again, good job of knocking that ball down making up a few yards.
3rd down and 19. Looks like a jump by the App State defense. At least that's what the Old Dominion offensive line is trying to sell. And we'll hear from Ted Pitts for the 2nd time today as he confers with his mates and has the call for us here.
You would think
he's cold. His microphone needs a
little
time
stop
to
the
warm
play.
up.
They're going to call it on offense, but maybe not.
Offside, defense, left defensive end. That's a 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
Well, Ted calling him up by position too.
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of times when they let them continue, you know, it's on the defense. But that time they did stop the play, so that was a little confusing.
So Old Dominion gets a few yards now, only 3rd down and 14. The 5-yard pickup. It's the Monarchs 5 yards away from midfield. They have to get the football to the Appalachian State 40-yard line. Wolf ready on 3rd and long. This has not been good territory for the Monarchs this year. He'll slide to a stop right on the midfield stripe, and Old Dominion will be 10 yards shy of the line to gain. This Old Dominion team is next to last in the country in 3rd down offense. And again, like we were talking about with App State earlier in their game against Marshall last week, Old Dominion has been camped out in 3rd and long all year long.
Well, and it has a lot to do, too, with their personnel. Again, Ali Jennings is out, and he and Wolf connected so frequently and so often prior to him getting injured a couple ball games ago. They've had a lot of injuries, particularly with the tight end. Like I said, we talked about the inconsistency on the offensive line, and they're just having a difficult time with personnel as well.
Ethan Dwayne pins App State inside the 10. Mountaineers with a 3-point lead and a lot of real estate in front of them when we come back. Holiday season right on us. Hey, happy early Thanksgiving to you. We got a few early shoppers here on the streets of Boone. A few folks dressed up well. They hit King Street earlier, got some headgear and some warm clothing. It is a chilly one here today. Temperature hovering right around 40. It's kind of kept both of these teams at bay too. We've had some slippery fingers out there. Ball's been on the carpet as much as it has been progressed down the field for these two teams. App State with a 3-0 advantage. Dietrich Harrington carrying the football for the third time. He's right around 20 yards in the contest. Harrington's had a touchdown in each of the last couple of ball games, had two 50-yard plus efforts. You talk about a guy, Avery Hall, who's trying to write the storybook ending to his career, and it has been one with many ups and many downs, lots of injury time. I think the App State world wants to see Harrington polish one more solid game off before he hangs up the black and gold.
You know, he's won already, because when you look at his attitude and the way he's kind of approached the last few years, considering all the injuries, I mean, he's just had a great attitude, and you know, he didn't hang his head. He just fought through the injuries, persevered through rehab and recovery, and just really just phenomenal attitude. When I listen to him, I'm around the team sometimes. When I listen to him, I mean, he just seems to have a good attitude, and you really like that.
Nate Noel with that last pickup on the swing pass, getting him involved in the passing game, and the Mountaineers have first down and 10 now at their own 19-yard line. Again, they were pinned back by Ethan Duane inside the 10, so a lot of real estate for Chase Bryce and crew to go through. He's trying to air that out, gets a complete pass into the Mountaineer boundary. Catch for Deshaun Davis, and that's a first down right into the home sideline for App State. Deshaun Davis with his 35th catch of the year. He's just gone over the 400-yard mark for the season.
I tell you, that was just a great route, great throw. Again, that quick, that was actually deep out, but the tight end occupied one of the safeties. And again, just a great play call and a great read and throw by Bryce.
Anderson Castle with the carry. His first touch today across the 40-yard line up to the 43. It has been a busy week in the Castle household. Of course, Anderson getting some playing time here today. His father, Todd, was elected to the Watauga County Commission earlier this week.
Awesome.
I don't know if Anderson was out there on the recruiting or the voting trail or not, but his dad, an elected official, so I'm sure he has to address him differently at this point.
You know, he has to say the honorable, instead of father.
The honorable dad.
But think about it, though. I mean, you know, he's in the family. He's got to go out there. He's got a campaign for dad. And but congratulations to his father.
We've got a timeout here for an injured Monarch. That is Denzel Lowry, backup defensive tackle, redshirt freshman out of Virginia Beach. Had 5 stops in a game earlier this year, trying to get a little bit more playing time here in this rotation that Avery was talking about earlier. The defensive coordinator, Blake Seiler, Kansas State guy, he has got some Big 12 ties, spent some time at West Virginia as well. He likes that defensive line rotation. And this is a team that is somewhat rebuilding, especially on the defensive side of the football. They are young by design up front. They've had some injury issues in the back end of the defense, but this is if you're going to build around any element of this defensive football team, Avery, I'd say take some stock and put it in that front group, that front four. They've got some talent.
And that's how you win football games long term, having a good, solid defensive line, a great offensive line. But if you take away Marcus Haynes, who's the defensive end, and Tyree Bibby, the defensive tackle, you're right. Most of these guys are redshirt sophomores and freshmen, so they're going to be good long term.
Castle going in motion. Bryce to throw across the middle. It's his tight end. There goes Pearson with 3 Monarchs on his backside. Pulls him down to the 35-yard line. Jason Henderson finally with the tackle, and that is a first down for the black and gold inside ODU territory. And now there's a stoppage of play, and that is not the player that you want to see down for Old Dominion. Jason Henderson is writhing in pain at the 30-yard line. He might have had his foot rolled on as he was making that gang tackle. There were 3 ODU Monarch defenders right there with him, and that young man is in some pain, and that would be a difficult loss not only for Old Dominion but for the Sun Belt with the pursuit that Henderson has had on some of the records this year. You want to see him on the field and healthy, no matter if he's playing for you or against you.
I tell you what, it was a bang play, and you had 2 Monarchs converging to hit Pearson, and then one rolled, I think, Henderson's leg. But if you look at it, he was only 28 tackles away from being the FBS leader in tackles. He's already the Sun Belt leader for a single season, and also a leader with the Monarchs. But if you take a look here, you had 2 Monarchs hit him at the same time. And then if you look here, one of his teammates rolls his leg as he's coming up to make a tackle. Man, it doesn't look like much damage, but maybe the turf grabbed his foot or something. Because you can get your turf grabbing that foot grabbing the turf. But
and he is, when you have 244 career tackles, when you have 166 in a season, he's got 4 today already. You're pretty banged up. So we'll see if I know that Ricky Ronnie said that if there is one player on his football team that he cannot get off the field, it's Henderson. So we'll see how long he stays in there. Here's a wide open touchdown pass for the Mountaineers. Just like that, Caden Robinson in the end zone. And the Mountaineers have their first touchdown of the ball game.
Good protection up front by Appalachian. Nice throw. You know, that was a busted coverage in the secondary of Old Dominion, and I think that has everything to do with their field general going down. They're probably a little discombobulated. So kudos to Appalachian State's offensive coordinator for making that call, knowing that they would be a little discombobulated after the injury to Jason Henderson.
It's a 35-yard touchdown strike to Caden Robinson. Michael Hughes on for the PAT. And that kick is up and good, and the Mountaineers with a 10-point lead here just before the end of the first quarter. Caden Robinson, as I mentioned, his second touchdown in Mountaineer black and gold. And Avery, as you mentioned, there was nobody near him.
There was nobody. Again, that had to be busted coverage. But again, good protection up front. Good read by Chase Price, and it was pretty ostensible that he was going to Caden Robinson. That was his first read, but they were taking advantage of a busted coverage. Again, with Jason Henderson being out, he's the guy who walks up and he tells you how many backs are in there, how many tight ends are there, how many receivers are there. He's the defensive middle linebacker. He's that guy who's communicating the defense, and then of course folks in the secondary are talking. Well, he goes out, they're a little discombobulated.
And this is already an Old Dominion linebacking core that is without Ryan Henry today. He was ruled out prior to play. Interesting note on Henry, kind of carry over from the Robert Morris game here. Ryan Henry's father, Charles Henry, played at Miami with Bernard Clark.
Wow.
It's all about the youth.
2 or 3 degrees of separation.
That's right.
In college.
Well, so with Henry out, losing Henderson for any kind of time is going to make things really thin and an already depleted linebacking core for Old Dominion. We'll try to get some word on Henderson's status here quickly. Like I mentioned, he's got 4 tackles to his credit right now, and everybody kind of scoreboard watching along with us to see if he can indeed continue his ascent up the FBS single-season tackle list. Hopefully he'll get on the field again later today and have a chance to do just that. So Old Dominion off the kickoff will have the football back at the 25-yard line, trailing 10-0. We're about to get through another quarter. This would be 11 and a half quarters of football without a touchdown, Avery. That's hard to do sometimes.
Yeah, they've struggled. Again, you look at averaging 330 yards per game and only 93 rushing, and obviously if you can't run the football, that makes your football team one-dimensional, so people can kind of tee off. And that's what James Madison did last week, and that's what Appalachian's doing right now, stopping the run and then applying a lot of pressure when they look to throw the football.
First carry for Keyshawn Wicks on the afternoon. Tyler Bird in there on the stop, and that'll send us to the final few ticks of quarter number 1. 10-0 start here for App State. 177 yards of total offense for the black and gold as they get out to a 10-0 lead. It's the aerial assault from Chase Price to Caden Robinson. The game's lone touchdown has the black and gold up 10 at the Rock. Welcome back to Kid Brewer Stadium, 10-0 App State as we head to the second quarter. In a developing situation here, Jason Henderson on the cart heading to the App State locker room where the team has x-ray facilities here, part of the newly revisioned north end zone facility, and hopefully Jason Henderson will get good news from that trip over to the Mountaineer locker room as he is out with a foot injury. We'll get word on his status likely at halftime. Meanwhile, Old Dominion with the football on the offensive side, trying to get in the end zone for the first time in a while. Isaiah Page on the catch. Picks up about 5 yards, will bring up 3rd down and 5 for Old Dominion. The Monarchs struggling still on 3rd downs today, just 2 of 4. That's actually better than their normal season production. They just have not had very many opportunities here.
Hey, David, going back to Jason Henderson, watching him get carted off the field. You know, you look at that anguish in his face, and again, you know, prayers for him that it's not serious and it's something he can overcome quickly. But you see that anguish, and a lot of people think he's, you know, maybe in pain, which he is, but that's also anguish of leaving your teammates, the guys you came here to battle with, and you can't help them battle, and you just hate it for a guy like Jason Henderson, because he is definitely a warrior. I mean, this guy, I mean, you're talking about 21 tackles against Arkansas State, 22 tackles against Georgia Southern, 18 against Virginia Tech. I mean, at the highest level, supposedly Power 5 football, just a warrior. So our prayers are with him.
Ethan Duane with a deep punt inside the 25-yard line. Mountaineers have the field flipped on them, but with a 10-point lead, looking for more are the black and gold when we come back. Welcome back to the Rock, Kid Brewer Stadium. David Jackson, Avery Hall with you here this afternoon. Quick check of the Sun Belt standings. Some interesting games going on a little bit later this afternoon. They're just about to kick in Hattiesburg. South Alabama and Southern Miss right in the mix of all of that Sun Belt West turmoil. Of course, South Alabama trying to keep pace with Troy. Old Dominion will go to South Alabama next week. And how about some news coming out of the Sun Belt East? Georgia State right now, a 20-point lead over James Madison. Now, the Dukes are not eligible for the championship. Coastal Carolina's already wrapped up the trip to the Sun Belt title game, but Georgia State, one of those teams like Appalachian State, trying to win 2 games down the stretch here these next couple of weeks to get bowl eligible. Chase Bryce going to the air. He's got a man wide open again. That is a sprint to the finish for Christian Wells and a Mountaineer touchdown.
I tell you what, Chase Bryce is 6 of 7 today, if I'm not mistaken. And he's been pretty darn accurate, but he's also had ample amount of time to go through his read progression step into his throw and put it on the money. Take a look here again. Goes through his read progression, finds his guy open right here. Again, number 6 has just been having a long day today. That's Trey Hawkins, third. He's the cornerback, 6'3", 195. It's been a tough day today for him.
10th career touchdown catch for Christian Wells. The only thing that you had to kind of wait to see is if Wells could get to the goal line before Hawkins could catch him. Made that tackle at the 1. Wells was sent into the end zone, and the Mountaineers had their second touchdown of the day and looking to open up a 17-point lead here on Old Dominion. Hughes' kick splits the uprights, and the Mountaineers have an awfully explosive start to this second quarter. You mentioned Bryce, 6 of 7 through the air, 208 yards and a pair of touchdowns. You go back and look historically, Appalachian State has done it on the ground against Old Dominion. In the previous 2 wins, both of them lopsided, very rush heavy. But Bryce today using his arm to his advantage.
Well, he's probably trying to, replicate what Tyler Lamb did, if you think about it, in that 2015 game against Old Dominion in Norfolk. Taylor threw 4 touchdown passes, and so he's probably trying to match that. No, I'm just kidding. But again, in that first game in Boone in 2016, Marcus Cox had 133 yards and ran all over the Monarchs. And I do believe Appalachian thought that they could come in here and run the football and on this Monarchs defense. But I will tell you, it is good to see the offensive coordinator make adjustments and do what works or take what the defense is giving him. And right now they're giving him that open middle behind the safeties because they're asking their corners to cover these guys one-on-one, and right now it's just not working, David Jackson.
Kevin Barbay told his group this week, he said it's about an honest review. He went back to that Marshall game and say, here's what could have happened, here's what did happen, and guys have been pretty receptive to that line of conversation this week and kept a pretty good attitude despite a tough loss to an arch rival on the road, trying to get back in the saddle and get set up for another arch rival next week if this game continues to trend along this way.
And that's courageous, too, because think about it, David Jackson. Most of the folks around here in Appalachian State territory or country, they know that Appalachian has been successful when Appalachian runs a football. And so you would think that the coaches would feel pressure to come out here and try and force that running game. But again, today, Kevin is taking what the defense has given him, and of course, 17-0 here in the second half. And that takes courage because a lot of times you try and force it. You try and force, running the football. But today he's been able to make some adjustments.
Old Dominion only 212 yards last week against James Madison, struggling to get over 80. Now Blake Watson will add to that tally as he gets the run out past the sticks. Looks about like a 13-yard gain. But a flag down on the play at the 28, that looks like holding, and that may all come back. I mentioned the struggles last week, only 212 yards of total offense, 2 of 13 on third down today thus far, and especially after this penalty. You look at Old Dominion now back in the sub-70 total yard category. That is not going to win you football games, not going to get you to the end zone where these Monarchs have not been for a while.
And you think about Ronnie, the head coach for Old Dominion. I mean, this guy was in the James Franklin coaching tree. Was there for coached with him for 9 years. He wants to run the football. He wants to stop the run. He wants to be aggressive on special teams. You can best believe he'll right this ship and get this football team headed in the right direction. But this year's just been very, very tough from a personnel perspective. It's also been tough from a scheduling perspective. David, if you think about this, I mean, they beat Virginia Tech 20-17. They lost to Virginia by 3 on the last-second field goal. Beat Coastal Carolina handedly in Conway, and then they started having some injuries, and then the tires just fell off the car. But again, this is not a bad football team. I think Ronnie can definitely turn these guys around.
Brendan Clark came in for a run play, was taken down by Deshaun McKnight. Now Wolf back in, facing second down and long, looking for a sideline route that he throws well over the heads of about the first 3 rows of Mountaineers on the home boundary. That was intended for Amarion Granger, the 6'1" true freshman out of Norfolk.
Amarion Granger, just like you said, he's 6'1", not 6'11". He'd have to be awfully tall to go up and get that one. And that's where the quarterback just doesn't understand the catch radius of the receiver, because again, he obviously overthrew that one.
Granger had 4 catches last week against James Madison. That doubled his season total. He is one of those guys with Jennings out that's had to step up a bit. Wolf looking on third down and long. Here comes pressure. Wolf trying to get rid of it. Can't do it in time. Mountaineers get to the quarterback in the backfield again.
Now, DJ, a lot of times we talk a lot about him being sacked. Take a look at this. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. You've got to get rid of that football. Okay, again, so he's been sacked over 30 times this year. And a lot of times, the offensive lineman will take, the blame for that. But he held that football too long. You've got to go through your read progression, whether it's deep to short or short to deep. You got to go through quicker. If you're patting that ball too many times, you're going to get sacked.
Ron White, Jalen McLeod in on that tackle for loss. Short punt trickles out of bounds off the foot of Dwayne, and the Mountaineers have the football awfully close to midfield when we come back from this break.
I was looking if I could toss it, Thanks, man.
Back at Kid Brewer Stadium, doesn't look like Bozeman here. Not snow on the ground like you saw earlier today on College Game Day, but I tell you what, it's been a pretty nice chilly day here. 17-0 start for App State. Let's take you back to 2015. First meeting between these two. What you can't see enough in this picture is how hard it was raining in Norfolk that day. Didn't stop Bobo Beathard, though. 53-yard touchdown catch. Taylor Lamb, as Avery Hall alluded to earlier, 187 yards passing, 4 touchdowns in a 49-0 win for App State. 2 49-0 victories for the Mountaineers to start that 2015 season. Sandwiched inside that, a loss to Clemson, and I believe it was the Tigers that ended up winning the national championship that year. Playing for it one way or the other. So the
Number 5, Nate Noel on the carry.
Mountaineers go back to work. That punt put them awfully close to midfield. ASU on the day, 252 yards of total offense. Nate Noel getting that initial carry. He's got 6 carries, 25 yards on the afternoon.
Pretty good job by the offensive line on that play, giving him a little nominal seam to run through, and Nate with his smaller frame doing the rest of the work there.
Castle now the back on 2nd down and 5. That's the toss to Noel on the jet sweep. Mountaineers haven't run that play as much throughout the course of this season. Marcus Haynes, the defensive end, catching him down. Marcus Haynes drew some great comments from Sean Clark earlier this week. The head coach of App State said he is long and rangy and speedy, and he's tough to get away from because his reach is so far that on a play like that, the jet sweep underneath, it's Haynes that was able to put his arms on top of Noel and pull him in for the tackle. That leaves the Mountaineers with 3rd down and short. App State 1 of 3 on 3rd down here this afternoon. Tiptoeing toward midfield. Amani Marshall, the pistol back. Bryce out to the boundary, has the first down. Dalton Stroman, his first catch of the day. And that'll move the chains for the home team.
That's a tough throw. Great arm strength displayed by Chase. Again, he's throwing, you got twins to the field side, and he's throwing across the field. That's 30 or 40-yard throw right there, just across the field. But good arm strength, taking advantage of too much cushion by the cornerback on that side.
Taj Rael, the Myers Park graduate out of Charlotte, forced him out of bounds, so Stroman moves the chains for App State. Amani Marshall straight up the chute. Inside the 40-yard line, gets to about the 37. That's a pickup of 9 yards on first down for Amani Marshall, who hasn't had any carries since that Georgia State ball game, the midweek game here at the Rock. He had 4 carries, 48 yards, and a touchdown in that contest. It was season's best effort, and he hasn't touched it until just now.
And he's an explosive running back, as you can see. Again, 8-yard run easily, and had he not tripped, he could still be running. Lots of real estate in front of him, but very explosive. He had a small hole there, and he did the rest. Again, just churning out yards.
And no Cam Peoples for App State today. Did not practice this week. One of those Senior Bowl invites for Peoples. He's actually one of 3 players in the stadium here as Chase Bryce calls a timeout. Not only Peoples going to the Senior Bowl, but Nick Hampton making that trip, and the right tackle for Old Dominion, Nick Saldiveri, getting a Senior Bowl nod. So the 3 of those guys have a chance to talk about that after Saldiveri gets done playing today.
Saldiveri's a good right tackle. I mean, he's a redshirt junior out of North Carolina, Parkwood High School, 6'6", 316. That's a lot of man. And, you know, I've been watching him today. He moves pretty well. And obviously, if you're getting invited to the Senior Bowl, Reese's Senior Bowl, you got to be able to move, and you got to have some skills. But he's a very good football player, and he's been reliable for
another North Carolina guy on that Old Dominion roster. You know, the Tidewater area gets recruited by just about every team in the country. Coastal Carolina's gotten some folks from there. North Carolina has gotten some folks from there. Old Dominion's been pretty good about getting into Charlotte. You notice a lot of guys with Charlotte ties on this roster as they rebuild. Here's Chase Bryce trying to utilize his feet, bowling right through a tackler. He will have the first down as he leans in to Denzel Lowry and moves the chain.
Take a look at this. Chase drops back, obviously doesn't see anybody. His rate progression. He starts to run, and he's like, Daly, get somebody, get him. But then he runs right into the guy. It's kind of like, just sidestep him, you know. He goes, that's why I'm the quarterback, not the tailback.
You know, we don't know what he says up there. Maybe he said, hey, Daly, watch this. I don't know. Amani Marshall, the pistol back. First down and 10 again for App State. A little misdirection. Is Robinson again. He's already got 1 touchdown on the day, trying to sprint inside the red zone. He gets over toward the Mountaineer boundary. Taj Rael and Trey Hawkins finally bring him down, but the Mountaineers move the chains again.
I tell you what, that was a great job up front. Now, you're seeing the run here. You're seeing Caden get outside and get on the edge, but the genesis of that play started with Anderson Hardy and Damian Daly doing a great job of getting good blocks. And they had to block Hardy had to block a linebacker in open field, and that's hard to do for a big man, and Daly did a good job of scooping. So good job, good execution by the offensive line.
About 8 minutes left in the second quarter. Mountaineers about to go over 300 yards of total offense. Bryce looking for that back corner, and the catch by Page ruled out of bounds. Good coverage there by Taj Rael, forcing Page to the sideline quickly. It didn't look like he could keep his feet in to haul in that pass from Chase Bryce.
Taj Rael doing what most good safeties are taught to do, use that sideline as a defender. If you look here, he's pushing him to the side, but good job of coming back to the football, making an adjustment by Tyler Page. And if he could just keep 1 foot in there, again, watch here on this throw here, he does a good job of coming back, making an adjustment, coming back to the ball, and Bryce put it only where he could catch it. That was really a good defensive play and good offensive execution. Just ran out of real estate.
Great call by the official, too. You saw the foot down. Here's Amani Marshall underneath, runs into a wall, trying to fight his way through. He gets pushed across the plane. And that's a Mountaineer touchdown.
That's called want to. W-A-N-T-T-O. That's called want to by the offensive lineman and Amani Marshall. Again, just getting in the end zone. Find a way to get in the end zone. Take a look here. Again, a good open field run. pretty solid open field tackle until he just says, I want to get in the end zone more than you want to keep me out of the end zone.
Dalton Stroman getting in there trying to help pave the way as Marshall hit those defenders and was stood up. Trey Hawkins tried his best to keep him out, but Marshall across the goal line before his knees hit the ground. Hughes PAT splits the uprights, and the Mountaineers, with their best look in several weeks, 24-0 start for the home team here at the Rock. 7:43 to play. Second quarter here in Chili Boone. To look at Kevin Wilson Highway. That's 421. Cars steaming through pretty soon. You'll start seeing Christmas trees attached to the top of those. It's our chief export at this time of year, Avery Hall.
That's exactly right. And when I'm driving to Boone, that's how I pass time away. I count.
That's how you know you're going the right way.
Well, and I'm sitting there, I count Christmas trees. How many in the next 30 seconds?
Yeah. Usually a truckload.
Dave, this has been an interesting football game. I really didn't know which Old Dominion football team would show up. The one that played Virginia Tech, beat Virginia Tech, the one that played Virginia tough, the one that ran all over Coastal, or the one that didn't play well at JMU or Marshall. But it's pretty clear the better Appalachian team has shown up.
Yeah, I was about to say, you could say that same thing about App State. Is it going to be the team that beat Texas A&M or the team that
lost to Texas State?
That lost to Texas State, and it looks a little bit more like the beginning of the season Mountaineers, a little bit more crisp on offense, 312 total yards, only 75 yards of offense for Old Dominion, and that has not been really due to anything other than good scheming by App State's defense. A lot more pressure on the quarterback this week. That has been something that has been void in large chunks, and that has disrupted Old Dominion's offense enough to make it a little bit imbalanced for Ricky Ronnie's squad to start this game. Still plenty of football left, though. Underneath look for Watson, trying to get him involved in the receiving game, and Watson takes off across midfield. So the Monarchs in a Mountaineer territory, and that's been an adjustment that Kevin Riener, the third-year coach, first-year offensive coordinator, has made in the last few weeks, and that's to get Watson the football out in space. Had a big gain against JMU that way last week.
That was actually a great call. If you guys to watch the replay, the Appalachian showed cover zero, but shifted to cover two with a hole underneath relative to zone coverage. And Wolf took advantage of it. He hit Watson in that zone spot, and he continued to get a first down. So that was actually a good play call and a good adjustment by the offensive quarterback and the running back.
Watson with a 4-yard carry. Hensky Palant catches him from behind.
Second down and 7 for the Monarchs.
They'll say 2nd and 7 here. We'll call it 2nd and long 6. We're going to be more optimistic. Old Dominion's offensive chances. Trying to get in the end zone for the first time this month. Pass out on the outside boundary. Isaiah Page with the grab. And Page will get enough to move the chains. About an 8-yard gain on 2nd down. And that has been an area, too, where Old Dominion really struggled last week. You start thinking about some of the whys. ODU ran 19 2nd down plays last week against JMU. They only gained 32 total yards. That's 1.7 yards per 2nd down play. That's how they end up in 3rd and long all last week, and we're not as productive. Good positive production here on 2nd down. It's Watson on the fake. It's Wolf on the sliding run to the 30-yard line. Picks up 5 yards on the misdirection.
I tell you what, you talk about Rayner, the offensive coordinator. They are actually just making some good adjustments on this drive, because if you think about it, you talk about not being effective on 2nd down. They threw out, they had twins to the wide side of the field. They threw to Page, who's just a great open field runner. Again, they run the quarterback, the naked boot back to the field side. Again, they're just doing a good job of trying to keep this Appalachian defense off balance on this particular drive.
Aiden Wolf finds Page underneath. Again, struggles to get back to the line of scrimmage. Nick Ross gets to him from behind, and that'll bring up 3rd down and 5 for the Monarchs. On the season, Old Dominion, as I mentioned, 25.2% on 3rd down, the 2nd lowest 3rd down productivity in the country. Today, 2 of 6. Facing 3rd down and 5, just outside the Mountaineer 30. Underneath Watson. Turns downfield, 25, has the 1st down to the 23-yard line. Runs right through Logan Dublin to move the chains for the Monarchs. Best offensive drive of the day for Old Dominion. They've taken 6 plays, a little over 40 yards, as they're just outside the door of the red zone.
Coach Ronnie and his staff, these guys, the average age of this staff is 33.5. So this is a young staff, and they like being innovative. So you knew they'd make some adjustments. You just hope that Appalachian has scored enough points to kind of keep them from coming back here.
Wolf finding Watson again, trying to struggle for some extra yardage. Logan Dublin grabs him like a seatbelt and pulls him down. There is a flag down on the play back at the 26-yard line. We'll see if this play holds. Well, Watson has been involved here. He's got 5 carries for only 7 yards, but now 3 targets, 34 yards in the receiving game.
Yeah, I tell you, they're making some adjustments. They're finding out where the holes are in this Appalachian defense, whether it's the front or the backside of the coverage, and they're trying to create some innovative plays. What about Logan Dublin? I mean, this guy, he's leading the team in tackles. He's made the last 2 tackles. He had 13 tackles last week. He's just been kind of a tackling machine in his own right here over the last few football games.
Well, only 24 stops a year ago. He's more than doubled that productivity coming into play today. Just under 60 stops on the year heading into play this afternoon. Coming up on the 4-minute mark, clock rolling. That penalty against Old Dominion drops him back 5 yards. Underneath, that's Harvey trying to get the corner, does so 10. And tripped up inside the 5-yard line. Touchdown saving tackle over there on the boundary by Ethan Johnson, the freshman out of Huff High School down in Charlotte.
I tell you what, Javon Harvey's 5'11", 180. Watch this. They drag him across from the boundary side. He crosses the face of the linebackers, catches the football. And the rest he does on his own, just scampers to get the 1st down.
No dice for Tariq Sims as he tries to run up the gut of the App State defense. Payline there again for the Mountaineer defense.
Yeah, they are being very, very creative in their play calling. They're running the football. They're throwing the football, and kind of using the horizontal game to kind of get the ball into the hands of playmakers like Isaiah Page and as well as Javon Harvey, and letting these guys do the rest. Again, twins to the wide side here.
Wolf, the little jump pass, can't complete it. Flag on the play. Was going after Levi Wentz, kind of hybrid wide receiver tight end, redshirt freshman Ronald Clark. Looked like he pushed off.
And you would think that Ronald Clark, a safety, could do a better job of covering. Did you say Levi Wentz? But then if you think about it, Levi Wentz is 6'4", 200 pounds. And again, Ronald Clark, I mean, he's 6 foot 195. But you would think that your safety can kind of run with that tight end, but really Wentz just did a good job of trying to create separation and forcing that PI.
Half the distance on the penalty, so that'll be 1st down and goal from the 2-yard line. Watson on the carry. He's grabbed from the front line again. Deshaun McKnight on the tackle. And that'll drop for a loss of 3.
I tell you, that'll make any former defensive lineman get excited. Take a look at this penetration here by McKnight. He gets upfield. He's intentional, and he's mad when he gets there. Again, 6'3", 290 pounds, quick as a cat, doing a good job of getting good penetration. Good job by McKnight.
Penalty to boot on the play. See, that Mountaineer rush defense has been stout. 136 yards a game. That's 8th in the league. This is a league that does not allow a lot in the run game.
Hey, let's talk about that Mountaineer defense. You know, everybody around Mountaineer country seems to be a little down on the defense, but when you really just look at the numbers of this defense, I mean, this defense is ranked in the top 30 nationally in the following categories. Forced fumbles, 13. Total yards, 329. They're number 24 in the country. And you say number 24 in the country, they're in there with James Madison, Marshall, and all those guys.
1st and goal from the 7 for Old Dominion, trying to break the ice and get into pay dirt. That catch made by Page. Was he out of bounds? No, they'll call it a touchdown. Monarchs in the end zone for the first time in 13 quarters. As Isaiah Page sticks his foot down. This may be reviewed, but Page had to walk that boundary awfully tight.
Let's take a look at this. I'm not so sure he stays in. But, let's give the young man a bit of out. The ball's in the air here, and he's running. Nope. He did not get in. I've got old eyes, but I clearly saw that foot on the line.
You got your glasses on.
And but
you can tell the friends at home.
Again, he just didn't get that. He didn't catch that ball in there. But that was a great throw and a great catch.
Ted Pitts heading over to the replay crew on the sideline. Steve Jost is today's replay official.
Take a look. Yeah,
good conversation with him before the game.
Again, when it hits his hand, the first foot down is out of bounds.
So that'll keep the Monarchs.
But going back to that defense, we're talking about ASU's defense, David Jackson. Again, passing yards allowed, 194 yards, number 28 in the country, but number 1 in the Sun Belt. Red zone defense, stopping folks 79% of the time, or holding folks to 79% in the red zone. But one thing is the forced fumbles. It didn't feel like this Appalachian team was forcing a lot of turnovers, but they're number 5 in the country, FBS. So again, tough, long year for this Appalachian football team, but defensively they've got some things to be proud of.
Don't think this will take too long to go through the replay process. Pretty cut and dry on the replay up top. Stops the clock with 3:02 to go. The call was a touchdown, so they've got to have enough to reverse it.
I tell you what, I think Stevie Wonder can see that one.
Here's Ted Pitts. Like I said, didn't take long.
After further review, the ruling on the field is overturned. It's an incomplete pass. It'll be 2nd down.
Yeah, that was pretty ostensible that his foot, the first foot down, was out of bounds. But again, it was an admirable effort. Great throw and great catch. And Page is that guy, David Jackson, that you want to get the football to, whether it's in an end zone or in space with a linebacker or a safety, because I like his chances in a mismatch with a safety or a linebacker.
Old Dominion was shut out by Marshall, 12-0 back on November 5th. Only a field goal last week against James Madison. Second quarter, October 29th, the last time they were in the end zone. Can Hayden Wolf get him there now on 2nd down and goal? Wolf with pressure starting to come. Fires across the middle, and that's off the fingertips of the intended target, Marquise Dietz. The redshirt freshman from Norfolk can't haul it in.
Okay. Now you see how much time Wolf had to throw the football. Now, that's not a good sign for the Appalachian defensive line. They had 4 guys rushing and could not put enough pressure. Luckily, Hayden Wolf put too much on that, and his receiver couldn't hang on to it. But again, that's just too much time to throw the football.
3rd and goal from the 7. Wolf, a quicker release this time. That ball thrown into double coverage and incomplete. Flag on the play right on the goal line, though. Dietz again the intended target. Let's see what we've got here. App State has already been hit for 1 pass interference inside the 10-yard line.
There's no flag down on the field.
I was going to say, I didn't see an infraction.
I think that just fell out of somebody's pocket.
Because that was actually good coverage. particularly when you're in the red zone and there's not a lot of real estate to work with. That was actually great coverage by Stephen Jones.
Ricky Ronnie, Kevin Reiner, they're rolling the dice, going for it, down 24-0, second to last game of the season. Haven't been in the end zone all month. Why not do it?
I mean, this is if you don't get it, it's just like a great punt from midfield. I mean, you know, why not?
Watson the pistol back. Dietz, the last 2 targets have come his way. He's at the bottom of your screen. Little play action, or rather trickery that's run out of bounds. That play was busted from the start. It tried to hand that ball off to Harvey to throw it. Then he saw pursuit, had to take off and run, and Nick Ross sent him into the advertising signs on the sideline.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I tell you what, 35 did a great job of covering the quarterback who goes back out. Great job.
24-0. Mountaineers maintain the shutout. Under 3 minutes to play here in quarter number 2 at the Rock. That was the best drive of the day for Old Dominion, but it still does not put points on the board. They went 13 plays, 58 yards, nearly 5 minutes, and shut out on goal to go. About 6 different plays from there, it felt like. Old Dominion comes up empty again. Here comes Anderson Castle around the corner, up across the 15-yard line, dragging defenders up to the 20. That's an 11-yard pickup for the hometown hero, Anderson Castle, and a first down for App State.
I tell you what, again, you got good blocking up front, but he's hurt. It looks like Castle is hurt, but that's just really good hard running by Castle. I mean, people think that he runs bigger than what he is. I mean, Nate's only 6 foot 215, but he runs like he's 6 foot 240, and may not be the fastest guy, but he's not going to get stopped for negative yards.
Anderson Castle favoring that shoulder, so he'll come over to the sideline. And the Mountaineers will regroup with 2:36 to play until halftime, trying to tack on another score after that 4th down stand.
Yeah, he's not, as you can see on the screen, he's 6 foot 210. He's not a very big guy, but as hard as he's run, it's inevitable he's going to have some injuries because he runs hard and he runs downhill, has good balance. And like I said, negative yards, he never gets really stopped for negative yards, but good hard running by Kelsey.
Yeah, with that carry, he went over 500 career yards on the play. Doug Gillen, athletic director at App State, coming up at halftime. Stay tuned for that. Mountaineers trying to put points on the board before the boss man comes inside the booth. Deshaun Davis with the catch out across the 25-yard line, shoved out of bounds by Tobias Harris. That's an 8-yard pickup for Davis on first down.
Take a look at this play. Again, if Chase Price is patient, and again, great throw, great execution on that play, but if he's patient, he had, Christian Horn running deep that he could have walked in the end zone.
Monty Marshall back at the tailback spot, trying to get around the corner, and he is flushed to the surface. Keyshawn Hunter, the redshirt freshman out of the nation's capital, one of the young defensive players that was brought forward to us in our conversation this week with Blake Seiler. He saw 2 redshirt freshmen on the ends, Jalen White McLean, who has played some today as well, but he and Keyshawn Hunter, they were going to be the young guys in that defensive end rotation that we were talking about earlier, that were going to get their opportunity to take a step forward today. And Hunter gets that tackle in the backfield that sets App State back 3 yards. The third down and mid-range now for Bryce. Quick release out to the boundary, and Horn can't get away, shy of the first down by about a yard. Good tackle there by Lamarion James, highly touted recruit out of the Norfolk area. He's another one waiting for that breakout moment on this ODU defense.
And look at here, Lamarion James makes a great open field tackle, because if he misses that, Horn is still running. So good job of not only coming up and trying to defend the pass, but making a great open field tackle.
Now Keyshawn Hunter, who we just talked about a moment ago, check that. That's Jalen White McLean, who has gone down. So they will tend to that injury here and stop play. About a minute 9 left until the break. Again, this is week 11 as the coaching staff at Old Dominion referred both Blake Seiler, the defensive coordinator, and offensive coordinator Kevin Reiner referred to this time of year as big boy football time.
It's big boy football time, but what I can tell you is when you're 10-1 or 5-5, when you're 10-1, nothing hurts. You feel good. But when you're 5-5 or you're 3-7 like ODU, you feel every injury. And again, both of these teams have been hampered with injuries, but they're more amplified because of the type seasons that they're having.
Mountaineers going for it here, 4th and 1. Bryce under center. Monty Marshall is back. Maybe just barking out here to call a timeout. It's awfully difficult territory, but Old Dominion really hasn't done a whole lot offensively today either.
This will give the Monarchs great field position if they can't cash in on this 4th and 1.
Roll this clock all the way inside 30 seconds just about. We'll get right up to it. And now Bryce will see the Mountaineers take the timeout with 28 seconds to play until halftime. Messing around there on 4th and 1.
That was smart, but kind of bizarre. At 4th and 1, you really, you're looking for them to try and draw the Monarchs off sides. And, I know they're trying to run the clock down, but that was kind of just a weird looking play there.
Hey, you bleed the clock out, and now if you punt the football away, that's less time, I guess, that Old Dominion can have to mount an offensive challenge. Again, you look at some of the numbers here as Old Dominion gets prepared for whatever comes next. Only 141 yards of total offense in the first half. That's put them a little bit ahead of pace of last week's effort. This is an ODU team that hasn't been able to run it as consistently. They've only got 9 rushing yards in this first half of play.
And they were only averaging 93 yards.
On 17 carries.
Yeah. So they've struggled running the football. And Blake Watson, he's had his moments. Obviously, he kind of had a field day against Coastal Carolina, but very, very pedestrian against Marshall and JMU over the last 2 weeks.
Howell gets the punt away. That's caught by Page at the 40. So with 24 seconds left and a few timeouts, ODU could take a shot or two here, see if they get any positive productivity right before halftime.
You know, you talk about this Mountaineer defense. At the beginning of the season, they had 4 returning starters. And if you think about it, that meant they had 7 new players trying to get acclimated to being on the field. Trey Cobb is gone. Nick Hampton is not playing. So you really have Stephen Jones and Jordan Earl are the 2 that are mainstays. So you got 9 guys really on this defense that really didn't play a lot. Well, they played a lot last year, but 9 guys that are really getting their feet wet.
Watson with the underneath catch. He gets into Mountaineer territory. Logan Dublin on the stop, and now Ricky Ronnie will take a timeout with 12 seconds left. Got enough time to get another pass downfield and then maybe a pop at points on the field goal attempt. You mentioned those guys, though. Nick Hampton, Trey Cobb, Brendan Harrington, 3 of the 4 starting linebackers in that North Carolina game. The only one that's made it this far is Andrew Parker. But you go back and look at the career statistics of those 3 linebackers I just mentioned. 145 games played, 523 tackles, 72 for loss, 34.5 sacks, and 14 takeaways. But Avery, to your point, they were the defensive identity of this App State football team for the first 3 weeks of the season. Whole entire identity was based on those guys, and now they're all sitting on the show.
And identity is one thing, and it carries a lot of weight. But just that productivity, my God, that's a lot to try and recapture. But you talk about the heart and soul, and you talk about identity. That's hard to replace.
12 seconds to play in the half. Wolf going to the sideline, gets Watson. He'll be able to get a few more yards. Step out with 5 seconds left. So now you're in Hail Mary territory, the 41-yard line. This is well outside the bounds. Place kicker Ethan Sanchez. His long is 44. So, I mean, you'd have to bring like Jason Elam on to try to attempt a field goal from this dude.
Yeah, I tell you, I think they're going to go probably with the Hail Mary or some type of
6
hook and ladder or
seconds is
something.
now the 6 seconds, the adjusted clock. Hey, if you're not done with athletics just yet, we got a little bit more for you coming down the road later on this evening, right here on ESPN Plus. You can check out App State and Kennesaw State from the Holmes Convocation Center. That's a 7 o'clock tip. Dustin Kern's squad playing Southeast Louisiana tomorrow, part of a 3-team event here at the Holmes Convocation Center. 4 straight days of basketball if you take that back to the women's game just a few nights ago. Mountaineers fell last night to Campbell 63-58, tight ball game down the stretch. Southeast Louisiana took a loss to Kennesaw State yesterday, 72-68. So the Mountaineers, Kennesaw, battle of the black and gold tonight on the hardwood. 6 seconds left. Here's Wolf's last heave. They try to step up and hurl it. Lets it fly deep. Tipped. And incomplete. We've seen that drill a few times here. Old Dominion not able to cash in the same way. That is the final play of what was a dominant first half for App State. 332 yards, 24-0. The black and gold lead here on Senior Day at the Rock. Hey, welcome back to Kid Brewer Stadium. Halftime here with App State up 24-0 on top of visiting Old Dominion. We are joined today by Athletics Director Doug Gillen here from Appalachian State. Doug, a wonderful day here at the Rock, senior day, but also a cap to an amazing season of fan support and just good old-fashioned football here in Boone.
Yeah, it's amazing. We were walking through the parking lots. I was walking around with Doug Middleton earlier, and just through, going through the parking lots, the flag, the pageantry, everything, and I looked at him like, this is a special place. And you look at the attendance today, our students showed out again. It's the weekend before Thanksgiving. They filled up. They're filling up the hill. And just from a crowd standpoint, senior day, 7th home game, yeah, it's been amazing. Our fan base has been really, really special this year.
You look at that 7th game, Doug, and I know you well enough to know that there's something on the horizon now. So how do you use the momentum of this year and build toward 2023?
Well, I mean, you saw, besides Darius Rucker, we're super excited to announce that concert. But no, we're going to go on sale with our season tickets early. We got some parking, different changes in parking. We get that, our fans, the good news is they're really passionate. It matters. If it matters to them, it matters to us. So we got to get our parking information out, our season ticket information out. We know our September slate is going to be amazing. You're going to start with Gardner Webb, then you're going to go down to Chapel Hill. You're going to want to have your season tickets here, so you have an opportunity to buy your tickets down there. And then you're going to come back with East Carolina. And East Carolina is going to be another one of those marquee matchups here. And then you're going to go to Wyoming. A lot of our folks are excited to go out to Wyoming. So, yeah, this thing about App State, and we've talked about it, you and I have talked about it, it just keeps getting better. And the level keeps growing. And you got it, like I've always said, you got to keep your foot on the gas. We got to keep rolling because this thing's not stopping.
You talk about marquee matchups, beating Texas A&M and Louisville in basketball just a couple of days ago. I mean, you've got a couple of really nice W's underneath the tree here heading into the holidays.
That's right. It's, because competition's an interesting thing. It ebbs and flows. The highs are high, the lows are low, and you got to try to stay in the middle. But I will tell you, and one of the things that I'll remember for forever, you go into in 3 months span, you can say App State went to Texas A&M and beat them in football, and went to Louisville and beat them in basketball. That's pretty special.
Two teams with a lot of pedigree. Doug, I know you got a lot going on campus right now. Basketball tournament going on in this football time. Hats off to your staff for pulling it all off, but that also speaks to the draw of Boone for teams to come here and play in these varied situations.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'll tell you one of the special things. Chancellor Everts yesterday, hosted App Kids, and we have this thing, App Kids. It's really important to Faculty Senate. They really support our App Kids, kids in the community, and just to watch them. I was in my office yesterday watching them run around and have our Chancellor host them, and they had lunch, and they did tours, and we had the solar car out there. And that was so special for so many kids in our community. That, and then certainly, yes, we got lots of basketball, we got lots of football. App is just such a special place. This university is such a special university. So many people. It's a really great place to be.
Well, Doug, I know another successful season here at the Rock. It's going to lead to bigger and better things as we move forward. Congratulations to you and your staff. We look forward to talking to you again soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. Go App.
All right. Doug Gillen joining us here from the Rock. Mountaineers up at the half.
Education is vital for growth and progress. What we learn shapes our future and the world that lies before us. That's why App State keeps advancing our founding mission of access to academic excellence. New programs provide new opportunities. New facilities open new doors for faculty and students. Tomorrow's solutions can be found here today. Here at the premier public undergraduate institution in the Southeast, here at App State.
It doesn't look as cold as one might think here at the Rock. 24-0 App State on top. A little cold weather gear out there, but everybody enjoying it, at least from the home fans' perspective. A pretty dominant first half by App State. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. And Chase Bryce has let his air out of his arm a little bit. 35-yard strike to Caden Robinson, the first touchdown of the game. A little dance there, and only to be outdone later by Bryce again. 75 yards to Christian Wells, stretches out on the goal line there at the last little bit. 17-0 App State at that point, and then the will to win. Amani Marshall pushing the pile to finish off a 17-yard rushing touchdown. That young man just wanted into the end zone. His third touchdown of the year all black and gold of Appalachian State, 24-0 our score. You take a look at some of the numbers there, Avery Hall, and you look at 332 total yards of offense, 14 minutes of possession time. A pretty balanced football game by Appalachian State from most perspectives.
Advantages in the passing game. Again, 332 yards. You think about it, 228 yards. Appalachian typically averages 248 yards passing in a ball game, so they're off to a great start passing the football.
And you saw that 170-yard total for Old Dominion from an offensive standpoint. They rallied to get to that.
That's
they had
exactly
that
right.
about 60-yard drive toward the end of the first half that ended up seeing App State pull a 4th and goal line stand. But without that drive, I mean, you're looking at a much more meager total that was hovering right around 75 yards before that drive started.
If you think about it, 19 yards rushing, that's going to make your offense awfully one-dimensional. So they've got to find a way to be able to run the football here in the second half.
Milan Tucker had the kickoff return for touchdown last week against Marshall. He was able to carry up to the 23-yard line here. App State extending a pretty impressive streak, actually, with a kickoff return for touchdown in each of the last 5 years. Milan Tucker couldn't do it there, but you have to give him a little bit of props for what happened last week. And now you look at App State with the football first in a 24-point lead. Kevin Barbay's offensive talk, I'm sure, included a little bit of that. Let's keep our foot on the gas. How does App State do that in the second half?
You got to continue to try and move the needle on the run game. 104 yards rushing, that's still not great by Appalachian State's standards. You really want to run the football well. So you can best believe they're going to try and continue to establish the run. But I will tell you, Coach Barbay has been really neat in his adjustments. I mean, when he couldn't run, he's gone through the air and he's gone to multiple receivers. Bryce is 10 of 12 for 228 yards and just done a good job of making sure that he's distributing the ball to his playmakers. So Coach Barbay has done a good job of doing what his personnel is able to do considering the game situation.
Chris Trinidad on the tackle of Amani Marshall there on first down. Bryce with a play action look, looking to go down the seam again. He's got Caden Robinson who hauled no flag on the play as that ball bounced off the shoulder pads, fell incomplete. Coverage by Tobias Harris, and it looks like Robinson draws the flag.
Tobias Harris is upset, but he knows in his heart of heart that he got there early. He was clearly beaten by Caden Robinson by maybe a couple steps, and he had to grab it. Good blocking up front by Appalachian State. Good throw, good delivery by Chase. Take a look at Chase. He knows where he wants to go with the football. Right here. See there, Tobias Harris conversions on the would-be receiver before the ball gets there. He knew he was beaten, so he had to start pulling on it.
Tobias Harris is from Pflugerville, Texas. That is the location of mythical Dillon, Texas, from Friday Night Lights. That is where they filmed that show.
Wow.
The TV show version. So there you go. Toss by Bryson. Marshall met with a vicious pop right on the sideline. Good open field tackle there by Trey Hawkins as he sends Marshall into the boundary after a 5-yard gain.
Take a look here. Trey Hawkins is 6'3", 195 cornerback. And I didn't say safety, strong safety. I didn't say free safety. I said cornerback. Comes up and delivers a nice shot on Armani. Good hard running by Armani, but that's a physical corner. A big corner, 6'3", 195, coming up and making a play.
Hawkins, one of the better defenders in terms of passes defended in the Sun Belt, but has excellent skills in the run support arena as well. Here's Marshall right up the middle, has a open hole, runs through a defender and gets inside Old Dominion territory for another Mountaineer first down. That was Artarian Johnson he went through to move the chain.
Good blocking up front. He sees the hole. He puts his foot in the ground, cuts back to the left, and gets more. Had he stayed in that one hole going to the right, he wouldn't have got as much real estate. But good read, good vision, good balance by Armani Marshall. Good production there.
14-yard pickup for Marshall. He's got 45 yards on the day. 1st and 10 for App State just outside the Old Dominion 40. Bryce lost the handle on the football. Cold weather bobble perhaps there as he throws the backward pass back to the 49. That's a fumble, so App State will lose yardage on the play.
Look, it just comes out of his hand. That ball is cold, it's hard, it's slippery, and if you don't have big hands and smaller hands, that ball's going to come out of there. But again, that hit, he has no control of that.
Looked like the Statue of Liberty with no statue. So 2nd and a lot. The Mountaineers lose 10 on the play. Call it 2nd and 20 from the black and gold side of midfield. Here comes Marshall again, a little downhill. Giddy up to him as he crosses the 40 and gets shoved out of bounds at the 35. So he picks up 15 of those yards back.
I tell you what,
Arian Johnson
watch this. Bucky Williams and Cooper Hodges. Look how they pull out there and get good blocks, good blocking angles. Really, Armani just has to run hard. And if you run hard when your linemen are blocking that well up front, you're going to amass some real estate.
Caden Robinson, good blocking downfield from the wide receiver position as well. So this brings up 3rd and a manageable 4 after 2nd and 20. Bryce with time, and his safety valve pass to Marshall just over his head. The touch just not quite there. Sean Asbury, the 2nd in coverage for Old Dominion.
Good makeup coverage by Sean Asbury. I tell you, that was a well-designed one. It was a great play call, but poorly executed play, because if he gets that ball to Armani and allows him to run with it, he's still running. So that was actually a great call, a great play call by Kevin Barber.
Mountaineers going for it here on 4th down, 50% on the season, 17 of 34. Old Dominion defensively give up about 57% on 4th down. Quartet of receivers to the bottom of your screen. Bryce, pressure coming from behind. He's going to have to try to get this ball loose. He's got it in a 1st down gain at the 30-yard line. That is a catch by Christian Horn for a Mountaineer 1st down.
Great play call. Great execution. Think about it. They've got quad receivers to the boundary side. 1 receiver to the field side. They're trying to give Horn field side room to work. DB does a good job of covering, but watch this. Bryce manufactures more time and throws it. Just a great catch by Horn as well.
Bryce, another play action look, heaving toward Deshaun Davis, who is cutting in at the 10-yard line. Pass falls incomplete.
You know that Chase has to be a little more accurate when you're throwing to Deshaun Davis. And Deshaun is 5'9", 165. His catch radius is not the same as Dalton Strobel. You can throw it a little higher, and Dalton Strobel can go up forward. But when you're throwing to Deshaun Davis, you got to be a little more exacting. That was a ball that was overthrown there.
5'9", standing on top of a box.
That's it.
11:23 to play, 3rd quarter. Mountaineers 2nd down and 10. Marshall cuts back up the middle after starting right inside the 25-yard line to about the 22. Picks up 7 on the play. Marcus Haynes, the defensive end, comes up with the stop from behind. Go back to Chase Bryce here for a moment. You know, he is 11 of 16 in the passing game. He had 2 sub 40% completion ratings in the last 4 weeks. He's had an interception in each of his last 3 games, too. Much more efficient football game from the passing perspective. 233 yards and a pair of touchdowns in the air. Hands off to Marshall again. Tries to push the pile like he did on the goal line, but not enough forward progress to get the 1st down. Had to make the 20. He gets stopped 2 yards short. So that'll bring up 4th down and 2. Let's see what the Mountaineers will do. They're going to send Hughes out for a rare field goal. He only had 3 field goals made all year. This is his 2nd attempt today.
I think smart decision here.
Love your kicker week. That's what this is. Give him some confidence. Say, son, we're not going for it on every 4th down. We do want you to kick it occasionally. This would be from 40 for Michael Hughes. It'd be a season long. Good snap, hold down, and he sails it through. So Michael Hughes bests his season best by 10 yards and puts 3 more on the board for the Mountaineers. 27-0 here at The Rock. Well, we hope those of you that are watching along at home have better snacks than this fella does right here. But hey, you know, everybody's got to eat. And the Mountaineers have done some eating on the field here today. 27-0 the score here at halftime. I promise this isn't actually Kid Brewer Stadium. That's like on the other side of that hill you see there. Howard Knob. Some diehards out here today. It's a cold day. The sun has gone down. Lights are starting to take hold on the field, and it is, I think the temperature's dropped. That real field that we showed you earlier has dropped an easy 12 degrees.
I dare tell everybody to be careful going home. After they finish eating, they're going to run across the road somewhere, so be careful.
That's right. We've got a few of them up here. Kick return opportunity for Old Dominion. They've got some spark in the return game. This might be the spark they need. App State defending it well, though, and the Monarchs will have the football right around the 25-yard line. You know, we talked a lot about folks that have been absent from App State's defensive perspective. Old Dominion without some offensive weaponry as well. Ollie Jennings, Zach Kuntz, there you see the way that they break down from a numbers perspective. Ollie Jennings was the third leading receiver in the entire country at the time that he went down with his injury. Just about to cap off a 1,000-yard season. Kuntz was a guy in the passing game from a tight end perspective, in addition to what he did from a blocking perspective. Just the short yardage across the middle guy. And both of those weapons out have really altered what Old Dominion's been able to do offensively.
Really altered what they've been able to do. And again, it's hard to replicate or reproduce the production that Ollie Jennings kind of brought to the table. I mean, this guy, like I said, early in the broadcast, he had over 5 games with 100 yards, and I'm talking, like I said, against 122 yards against Virginia Tech, 200 yards against East Carolina. So very productive, and it's hard to kind of replace that productivity and the chemistry between Wolf and Jennings when a guy like that goes down.
Marquez Bell on the catch, Dexter Lawson the stop. You're talking to Ricky Ronnie this week. He said the thing about Jennings' absence is somebody, and it's really Javon Harvey, it's Amarion Granger, it's Isaiah Page, but somebody's got to get used to hearing their number called when you need that critical play to keep a drive alive. That was always Jennings. Jennings was the third down guy. Jennings was the need a catch right now guy. And he said to move players, like even Javon Harvey, he moved over to the boundary. That's a completely different route tree for him. Yeah. It's not only the expectation of being able to deal with a new set of plays, but it's making the play. And he said that is where the maturation of their football team is still lagging behind. They need to get that person to say, I want to step up and make this happen. Let's see who will make it happen on third down here. That's a good enough radius for the catch. App State defense saying drop, and Javon Harvey, the intended target, couldn't hold on to it on 3rd down and 6. Had the sticks, but couldn't hold on to it. Dexter Lawson with the hit.
Actually, good play call. Just good defense. You know, good coverage. Again, hitch routes. You know, they have 2 routes on that side, on the field side. Again, one guy's running a quick in, and then the other one's running a hitch. Just couldn't convert.
So another punt opportunity for Ethan Duane. Sends another booming kick. His leg has been in good shape, not impacted by the cold here today. Mountaineers will have it at the 21-yard line, up 27-0. Get your blankets out here at the Rock. Boone, North Carolina. All of that traffic leading to great holiday fun. Everybody coming here for what will be a great parade atmosphere downtown in about 2 weeks. Got festive First Friday coming up next, or rather right after Thanksgiving. All those folks will have to get those toboggans back out. It'll probably be a little chilly that night too. Check it out, 37 degrees, Avery Hall. We're going for freezing by the end of this game.
I guarantee it'll be down to probably 23
You're gonna
before the
have to put your
game's
seat warmers on for the ride back to Kernersville.
That's about it. You know what? At least when I get halfway, I can turn the seat warmers off, right?
Well, it's probably like 60 down there right now. So
it's about a 10-degree difference, my friend.
just under 9 minutes to play, third quarter, all App State in this one. Dalton Stroman about to get loose at the 30-yard line, run out at the 37. Good play design there and a lot of real estate for Dalton Stroman, who again had the theatrics of the tip on the Hail Mary. He's turned into a very nice receiver for the Mountaineers. Over 300 yards for his redshirt freshman season as he becomes one of those weapons. We were talking about Old Dominion trying to develop. Dalton Stroman's been that guy for App State this year.
He has been. Again, he has so much upside potential. Again, he's tall. He runs well. He's going to learn to run routes better. Again, just a huge catch radius because when you're 6'5", I mean, your catch radius is all over the place. But he's going to run his routes better as he gets older. He's just got a lot of upside potential.
Harrington pulled down by Alonzo Ford. Ford at Old Dominion, because of the culture, said he loved the number of cultures that he saw. 97 different countries represented on the ODU campus. 53% of students from ethnic minority groups. He turned down Wake Forest, Florida State, Boston College because he said he felt like he was at home on the ODU campus. And Ford has been at home in the middle of that defensive line rotation, anchoring down one of those tackle positions and making a great stop on Harrington. Now Bryce trying to get away from some of those big guys up front, and flags fly in multiple directions in the backfield as Bryce picks up 5 yards and will likely have to circle back and try that one again.
You know, Bryce runs probably a 5 flat 40. I mean, he's not a speedy guy. And whenever you have a guy like that trying to manufacture yards and running, it's going to be holding because the offensive line, they have peripheral vision. They see what's going on. They feel that he's trying to, maybe run. And so sometimes you have to tug that guy just so he doesn't hit your quarterback. You
go back to Alonzo Ford, and speaking of that holding, again, a lot of that effort there that Avery just mentioned due to the fact that Old Dominion's front group has played well again today. Alonzo Ford, a sophomore out of Richmond, he played the nose guard position as a true freshman, and Ricky Ronnie saying, and Blake Seiler really reiterating this as well, not many freshmen can do that as a true freshman, to come in and play that position and play it well to the tune of honorable mention All-Conference USA honors. But Ford has been able to take that to another level this year. Now the Mountaineers trying to get some of that penalty yardage back. They get back to the initial sticks as Taj Rael and Sean Asbury will keep the Mountaineers at 3rd and 11. App State today on 3rd down, 2 of 7. That's been about the only knock on a 400-yard day. They're still not very good at advancing drives. Let's see what Bryce can do here. Well, short on the pass, that ball thrown into the boundary and incomplete.
That was actually a pretty good read by Chase Bryce had he had the ability to get the ball to the receiver, because again they blitz from that side, the will linebacker, and again when that linebacker blitzes, it creates an open spot for Bryce to throw through. So that really was a good decision. He just couldn't get the football there.
Howell matched his season best punt earlier, 51-yard effort, his best of the day. He's punted twice to the tune of 83 total yards, and he'll hang this one up in the air. Isaiah Page sets underneath it, trying to get loose, and does so. He's got an opportunity for a return here out to the 27-yard line. Tackled into the ODU boundary. Flag comes in. There may be a little late hit, some sideline activity. We'll call it just getting to know a new conference opponent.
I think ODU may have taken exception to Page getting DDT'd on the sideline over there. Literally looked like he got DDT'd, thrown his head, but it was a clean tackle, a legal tackle. But I think somebody took exception to that over on that far sideline.
Well, you know, Ricky Ronnie looking for a little bit of that spark, you know, and talking to the Old Dominion coaches, especially after bowl eligibility was taken off the table last week with the loss to James Madison. They were talking about, hey, this is the last 2 games that you play with this team. You know, there are a number of players that are on this roster that were part of the 2020 squad. You know, Old Dominion was one of the few teams at the FBS level that chose not to play football in 2020. And so you have Ronnie's staff coming in. You have this odd situation where you have what Jason Henderson called 3 straight spring practices, and you've got some guys that are no longer taking opportunities to play football for granted because they had to take it away. While everybody else was playing in COVID bubbles and all that, Old Dominion was on the sideline. They were one of the only teams in Conference USA that didn't play that year. So he's looking to see what that don't take it for granted means to 2 games left, trying to project a little bit for some of this young player development, but also trying to end the season on a more positive note. It's an Old Dominion team that with 2 wins could still get to 500 in league play. So they had plenty to play for coming into today as well.
And you think about it, they have 17 players with undergraduate degrees. So these are guys who are older, they're more mature, they understand the finite feeling of football. It's about to be over. So they clearly understand that, and so they're going to play hard and they're going to finish out. And you know, when you kind of just, you know, look at the players, they seem to have a good feel for Coach Ronnie, and they probably want to play well for him as well.
Blake Watson taking the handoff from Brendan Clark, who is getting his first non-Wildcat series of the ball game. Kevon Hagler on the tackle for App State, up to the 31-yard line for Watson. And a first down gain for the Monarchs. Brendan Clark, first action of the season last week. He was 2 of 4 passing, 37 yards and an interception. He was the #1 pro-style quarterback in the nation out of high school, went to Notre Dame, transferred in, and he may be part of that quarterback mix moving forward. Hayden Wolf has eligibility remaining, but so does Clark, who also had a little bit of that more mobile nature about him that is appealing to Old Dominion from an offensive perspective. They feel like they've got to get a little bit more versatile out of the QB spot. That was part of the reason why they encouraged Wolf to try to alter his abilities and alter his body really to become more durable, to be more mobile. And now Clark bringing that feature in as he gets the time at quarterback. Had 2 series last week. And now we see Wolf back in at the quarterback spot, and just for that, a substitution infraction to throw on top of the offensive woes for the Monarchs.
Well, and both of those quarterbacks, to your point, both of those quarterbacks bring different attributes to the table. I mean, Brendan Clark, like I said, he's more mobile. He's a transfer, like I said, from Notre Dame, and they're wanting to be able to give the defenses in the Sun Belt more to think about. And you can do that if you have a mobile quarterback. I mean, you can really make those linebackers and those safeties think about, you know what their responsibilities are if you have a quarterback who can run the football.
Wolf play action look, dialing across the middle. That ball tipped and nearly picked off. Looking for Harvey across the middle, just shy of midfield. Ethan Johnson right in the territory. Ethan Johnson back on the field this week, and I know that we have touched only briefly on what has been a difficult week for all throughout college football in the aftermath of what went on at Virginia. Ethan Johnson was a former high school teammate of Devin Chandler's. They worked out together over the summer, and Johnson saying to the Associated Press last week that Chandler was a guy that really helped lift him up at a developmental stage in his career. So you know that young man playing with a heavy heart like everybody else on that football field is right now. Isaiah Spencer with the catch for Old Dominion out near midfield, and the Monarchs will move the chains on 3rd down here for the first time, or one of the first times in the second half.
That was really it wasn't a situation where the hole in the zone was wide open, but when Isaiah Spencer, he's 6'5", 230 pounds, he just created a throwing dart for Wolf, and Wolf hit him on the numbers, but good job of finding a spot by Isaiah Spencer on that last play.
Stephen Jones has been in the neighborhood of 2 interceptions today. He had 7 last year, hasn't gotten one yet. We talked with Rod West, his position coach, earlier this week, and he said this was the game that maybe Stephen Jones could get his first pick because the number of passes were going to be there. You see the App State pass defense, leader of the Sun Belt. Today, only 175 yards allowed to a team that came in averaging nearly 250. As we mentioned, just outside the top 50 in the country in terms of passing productivity. Jones has been part of that defensive effort to hold that somewhat in check as Old Dominion sees Wolf complete the pass to Watson, stopped by Jalen McLeod once again. And McLeod getting a lot more time today because of the absence of Nick Hampton. And Jalen McLeod was a guy that after the second week, you thought this guy was going to the league right away. I mean, he had such an impact in the Texas A&M game. Now getting a chance to get a little bit more playing time and show what he's capable of in the linebacking spot.
I mean, he covers well. He takes on blocks well. I mean, he defends the pass well. He's just a well-rounded outside linebacker. Does a good job for this Appalachian defense.
Watson, great stiff arm there to move the chains as he gets past a couple of tacklers inside the 35-yard line, and Andrew Parker finally catches him from behind, but not before Old Dominion moves the chains for another first down and getting close to the red zone again as Old Dominion tries to break that ice. Haven't scored a touchdown since October 29th. They got close earlier. They were within 2 yards at one point.
Dave, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about Coach Ronnie wanting to really see both quarterbacks. He's flipping Brandon Clark and Hayden Wolf kind of like every other series, every other play right now, because again they've been on this drive. They've both played at least 2 or 3 plays.
Yeah, Clark back in at quarterback, tosses to Wicks, who gets the carry, a pickup of 8 yards on first down. Keyshawn Wicks hasn't played as much, a capable back. His cousin Bradley Roby, cornerback with the Saints in his 9th year in the NFL, 11 career interceptions, so football in the Wicks family. Second down and 2, closing in on just shy of 2.5 minutes here in this third quarter, all App State in this game. And a flag coming in. I haven't seen too many penalties today. This Old Dominion team, one of the most penalized teams in the nation, heading into play today. And I kind of equate that to playing a bit in the Ricky Ronnie style, because he's just kind of a grinder of a coach, of a player. He talked a little bit about his playing background. He said at Cornell, we were talking about the cold weather, he said at Cornell, I played 1 game in sleeves. I've regretted it the rest of my life.
And he was a good quarterback. He's in Cornell's Hall of Fame. I mean, he threw for over 8,000 yards, 50-something touchdowns, 3-year starter, and he knows the position. And so, that's why you feel like he's going to do a good job of developing these guys and eventually get this program to where they need to be.
Clark trying to get out of trouble. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it. Tackled right back at the line of scrimmage again, so at least he's able to move a few yards forward. Andrew Parker and Keshawn Brown in on the stop, and that'll bring up third down and 8 for the Monarchs.
And you know, you talk about Coach Ronnie and his playing background and the way he leads his football team, and typically the team is going to take on the personality of your leader and your football coach. But if you look at these quarterbacks, or the quarterback play, when you look at Wolf in his season, I mean, he can go one game where he's 24 of 46 for 198 yards against Marshall. The next game he's 12 of 16 for 180 yards against Coastal. Then he's 23 of 40 for 313 yards against Georgia Southern.
Wolf in trouble on third down, and now he goes down again.
But the point is, he can have a game where he's throwing for 46 attempts. The next week, he's only throwing the football 16 times. And so Coach Ronnie's still trying to figure out the identity of this offense, and it's going to take some time. It's probably going to take some more pieces, particularly around the running back position, to make sure he's got, you know, what he needs from a running game perspective. But he's got 2 quarterbacks, 2 good quarterbacks.
Deshaun McKnight in on the tackle for loss of Hayden Wolf. It's Wolf in at the QB spot here for this fourth down and 8.
And that's awfully hard when you're switching quarterbacks in between. I mean, in a drive like this, I mean, in between plays. To me, that's awfully hard.
Wolf, a little bit more time, slinging toward the sideline, but throws it out of bounds. And for the 3rd time today, Old Dominion shut out on 4th down. Less than 20 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. App State maintains a 27-0 lead. It looks a little warmer in that picture, but you get the point. Beautiful campus, beautiful time of year here in Boone, North Carolina. 27-0. The home team likes the scoreboard as well. There it is, Kidd Brewer Stadium, The Rock, final home game of 2022. If you were with us at halftime, Doug Gillen talking about just the attendance, and some people have thinned out a little bit. They might not have felt their feet anymore and needed to figure out a way to saunter out of the stadium, but another great crowd here today, and just a wonderful atmosphere for football, one of the best in the Sun Belt, and it has delivered again today, just as Amani Marshall has delivered. That's his 10th carry. He's closing in on 75 yards. Gets a first down that will end this third quarter of play, and an emphatic one for Amani Marshall to remember as you see the Mountaineers with a little bit of pep in their step. Senior day has been the perfect day for it all to come back together for App State. They lead it 27-0 heading to the fourth here at The Rock. Fourth quarter action here at Kidd Brewer Stadium. Let's take a look at some Sun Belt scores. Interesting setup here for the Sun Belt West. It looks like Troy may be on their way to a Sun Belt title game meeting with Coastal Carolina. Right now the Trojans up on ULM. South Alabama needs a win and a Troy loss to keep that as a possibility. All Troy's got to do is win today, and it's mathematically impossible for South Alabama to catch them for that opportunity to go to the title game. Caden Robinson with the flip. How about that? Mountaineers trying to break a few things out of the playbook as Amani Marshall spun out of bounds just over midfield. Look at him, the 45-yard line. The Mountaineers will have the first down there.
Look, creativity late in this ball game. Again, nice throw by Bryce, catch, hook and ladder. And again, Armani's like, look, let me find some real estate.
Talking Friday Night Lights, man. That looks like a play right out of the Dillon Panthers playbook.
Pflugerville, right?
Pflugerville.
Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, right?
1st and 10 Mountaineers. Marshall sniffing 100 yards here in the rush game. That'll be his 11th carry. They'll get a positive yard. Actually, no, they're going to get a no gain. So he's right outside of 80 yards. 10 carries, 79 yards for Amani Marshall. That is by far his best. He came in with 161 yards on 37 carries this year. Wake Forest transfer, didn't play for the Demon Deacons. A Winston-Salem product that's just run hard, run with purpose today. And with Anderson Castle out, we have not seen him come back since the shoulder injury sent him to the locker room before halftime. So it looks like Marshall's going to get a steady diet. Pearson underneath, releasing, running through tacklers inside the 30, first down Mountaineers.
Great execution on that play. Again, good setup. Good patience by Bryce. He's getting a lot of pressure. Tosses it to the tight end who comes a drag underneath there. The lineman allows the lineman to get out there and get in front. That's a great executed play there.
So every time a Mountaineer tight end catches a touchdown pass, they send a Hallmark card to offensive coordinator Kevin Barbay. Henry Pearson is the one that writes the card, and it's that fluffy stuff too. It's like thinking of you in these moments. You know, they go and try to get the most poetic card that they can get as a thank you from the tight ends to get him in the end zone, and that is all Henry Pearson's doing. So I don't know whether he'll get a card for a first down, but he's getting a little closer.
Think about this. I know why they do that, okay? Think about this. Last year, the tight ends had 22 catches in 2021. This year, they have 37 catches among the 3 tight ends for 384 yards. But get this. Henry leads that because he has 22 catches this year for 241 yards. So he has more catches this year than all of the tight ends of last year. So he wants to keep Barbay happy, right?
Well, maybe he needs to get him. I mean, the holidays are coming up here. We can advise him to shop local and then find something nice. See if that can increase the PT. Another first down gain for App State. They're trying to put together the game-clinching drive here. About to be the 6th play of this drive. Apps already covered about 50 yards of offense, 450 yards total on this day. This has been a look that has not been given by this team in the last few weeks. Couldn't come at a better time with 2 must-win games. Looking more and more like this will set up a big showdown at Statesboro next week. Kanye Roberts with his first carry of the football game inside the 20-yard line. Roberts out of Teachey, North Carolina, the true freshman, at 70 yards on 7 carries against the Citadel, and another 57 against Robert Morris. He's right around 125 yards of rushing offense in his freshman season, and he will likely, due to the math of college football and all that stuff, be able to get this year as a redshirt. That's about number of games played, and Roberts is going to have an opportunity to be a big part of the Mountaineer offense moving forward. Here's Bryce on 2nd down and 10, trying to get away from pressure, and he is pulled to the turf. Chris Trinidad, the redshirt freshman out of Richmond, with the tackle there for Old Dominion. One of the another one of those young players, Blake Seiler, saying, the defensive coordinator for Old Dominion, saying one of the hardest things to do is play on that front as a freshman. Chris Trinidad has been another player to come in, started the last 3 games. That came due to injury to Devin Brant Epps, who has not played today. Trinidad is taking advantage of that opportunity and kind of bringing himself up the ladder, so to speak, when you start thinking about what could be next year for the Monarchs. Bryce, after the loss, is going to get taken down again.
What was really 1st and 10 from the 22-yard line is now going to be 3rd and about 20, I guess 20 yards from the 40. Well, it's going to be 4th, I think. 4th and 27 from the 39. But I tell you, you talk about that D-line. You're talking about Chris Trinidad, and you're talking about Denzel and Chaz and Devin, all those guys on that defensive line for Old Dominion. They're going to be good. They are really going to be good if they have time to continue to develop. in the weight room, as well as kind of getting acclimated to the speed of college football, they're really going to be good.
Clayton Howell to punt the football away, so App State looked like they were going in for the game clincher, and instead it's a punt that is contacted at the 2 but rolls back into the end zone for a touchback. So Old Dominion football down 27 with the ball at the 20 when we come back to Kid Brewers Stadium here in Boone. Well, you know, as Mountaineer fans begin to learn some of these new conference teams, learn that Old Dominion's got a pretty good baseball team. Evidenced by Justin Verlander, former Old Dominion pitcher from back in the early 2000s, just won his 3rd Cy Young Award earlier this week. So congratulations to ODU alum Justin Verlander. And again, showing the magnitude and the scope of the success that Old Dominion's had from an athletic perspective. Basketball team that's usually in the tournament conversation. That'll be fun to see come around to the Sun Belt. And baseball that has put more than one player. Sean Marshall, another former Old Dominion player, or maybe he was VCU, one of the two. But Old Dominion put some guys in the league. And Justin Verlander's pretty good.
And
I've seen him strike out several Chicago Cubs.
I knew that was coming. He's pretty good. He's good on the mound, I'll tell you. But ODU's in a good location too, right there in Norfolk. They're right there in the Tidewater area, around a lot of great athletes, and they can not only pull from the Tidewater area, but they can pull from South Carolina and North Carolina and Georgia. So they're in a pretty good area.
Wolf deep ball trying to come back to it, and that ball slips off the fingertips of Stephen Jones. He just can't catch a break or the ball. He's had 3 opportunities for interceptions today, and that one right off his fingertips, intended downfield for Harvey. Watch it again. I mean, this one is there, and it's out.
And you can tell he's frustrated. He really wanted that. And but again, goes up and tries to high point it at a high level and just can't keep it in.
He needs to get some of that stickum that Clifford Franklin played with in the replacements. Maybe he can haul one in today. Poor guy.
I'm glad you're talking about sticking for Stephen Jones versus Verlander. No.
Here you see Watson across midfield. That's a 15-yard pickup, and Old Dominion moves the chains again. Jordan Favors, the redshirt freshman out of Griffin, Georgia, with the tackle. App State's got a couple of those younger players. Santana Hopper also on the field today. Everybody trying to, I don't want to call it audition, but get some guys some time. You know, Ricky Ronnie said that there were some guys that said, I'm always going to play, you know, his 1-0 mentality. As you see Watson get the corner here off the right side, pushes into a pile of tacklers. That's another 8-yard gain. But Ronnie's saying, you know, my 1-0 mentality does not allow us to just go play guys to play guys. He's like, I am always about best opportunity to win, but sometimes that might be a freshman who's been grinding it away for 10 weeks, came through fall camp and is finally starting to get that light bulb moment and maybe overtakes an older guy or pushes themselves into the too deep. And then, yes, absolutely, that's part of the mentality. He said it's not fair to the older players to just go wholesale, let's play a bunch of freshmen and see what they can do. There are players on this roster that these are their last 2 football games, and Coach Ronnie and his staff feel like they owe the opportunity to go win games, and that's commendable. That you can. I'm sure that sometimes is a tough message to hear in the locker room, but it's one that at least aspires to match the philosophy that is talked about all year long as Old Dominion gets another first down carry.
DJ, it's commendable and it's respectable, but also let's kind of put things in perspective for Ronnie and Sean Clark. At this juncture in the season, Appalachian's 5-5, Old Dominion's 3-7. It looks like Appalachian's going to be 6-5. Old Dominion's going to be 3-8. You got to re-recruit players, so you got to be mindful of playing these seniors who are going to go back in their communities and talk to potential recruits. You got to be mindful of playing some of these guys, because if they're not feeling like they're getting adequate playing time, they're looking for the transfer portal in December. So you got to re-recruit players during these last 2 ball games if you're both programs.
Wolf on first down and 10, looking for that end zone. He's got Harvey, and that's a catch for a touchdown. Old Dominion breaks the ice with 7:05 to go here in the 4th as Javon Harvey hauls in touchdown number 2 on the year.
That's just a good throw by Wolf, good patience, and if you look here, he just puts it up high. And that's a ball that it looks like, maybe Green didn't have adequate position on Harvey, but Harvey should have been penalized right there too for the taunting, again looking down at the defender. But again, Green out of position there a little bit, and just a good throw, good separation by Harvey.
14 quarters it took Old Dominion to find the end zone again. Javon Harvey does the job. First touchdown of the month for Old Dominion. Makes it a 20-point ball game here at The Rock with 7:05 to go. We come back to Boone after this. Take a flashback to the last time these two teams played here in Boone 2016. I can assure you it was much hotter that day, and part of that was due to all of the omissions from Marcus Cox. 18 carries, 133 yards, 3 touchdowns. J.P. Caruso getting in the end zone that day as well. He had 19 yards rushing from the quarterback spot. App State 230 on the ground, 31-7. A win in the home and home get-back game between App State and Old Dominion. Last time these two teams met, of course, in non-conference play. First conference battle today, 27-7 the score. ODU back to within 3 scores. Still time left. App State with the kickoff through the hands. Milan Tucker can't hold on to it. So the Mountaineers will run it out to the 25. I say that completely legitimately. There's 7:05 left, 3-score game. We have seen a lot, Avery Hall, happen inside the stadium this year. App State needs a drive to sustain, put some clock time together and play this thing out. That is the message from Kevin Barbay to his team right now. Execute and salt this thing away.
You know, the last time we were playing a Virginia team here, instead of ODU, it was JMU. We were up 28-3, if you remember that.
That's kind of what I was alluding to.
So you always think about that, but hopefully we're playing well enough today that you can stave that off. But you do want to put together and finish strong because you got a big football game coming up next weekend after Thanksgiving. And so you really want to keep this positive momentum. You want to keep the offense, you know, crisp and firing on all cylinders. And that's kind of what Appalachian should be looking to do in the next 6 minutes and 44 seconds.
Speaking of finishing strong, Datrick Harrington with a nice 7-yard pickup. Amani Marshall back in at the quarterback spot now. He's got 13 carries, 89 yards, averaging just under 7 yards per touch today. App State as a team has rushed 151 yards on 33 total attempts, about 4.5 yards a clip. That's an improvement over the last couple of weeks. Snap to Bryce, handoff to Marshall, and he is pulled down in the pile. Now again, more chatter between these two. They're learning how to become conference rivals. That's how this is. Chris Trinidad in on the stop.
Well, you know, the thing about conference rivals, if you know, 2021 tells you a lot that you should be careful of because karma is something else. You think about this, Appalachian loses to, they lose 5 games this year. Texas State, I'm not going to count. I'm going to take them out of the equation.
It's nice to be able to do that.
but JMU, you know, you look at Coastal Carolina. These are good football teams that were ranked, and these are football teams. Marshall, we beat last year in 2021, and you flip the script, and in 2022 you lose by 7.
Yep.
So in this conference, if you're Appalachian, you got to be careful, or maybe you can say we're going to enjoy the moment because next year it could be totally different. This is a very tough conference. When ODU, JMU, Marshall, and Southern Mississippi entered in July, last year? It just changed the dynamics of the conference. This is a very tough conference, particularly the east side of the conference. So you got to be careful what you do when you're winning, because the next year can be totally opposite.
You look at Appalachian State was 2-2 in one-possession games last year, 2-4 this time around. Old Dominion's had a little bit of that as well. They were 2-3 in one-possession games a year ago, 2-2 in those games this year. Close counts. And that was something that we talked to Sean Clark about earlier this week as Harrington gets the carry on first down, picks up about 3 yards. Gang tackle on the corner, but led there by Sean Asbury. We asked simply, hey, you're 2-4 this year, and usually App State has the rabbit's foot. What's the difference? He went immediately back to third down productivity. Third downs not being converted on the offensive side of the football, keeping drives alive, keeping your offense on the field, but then especially on the defensive side of the ball. Last week, App State gave up, we've been kind of tracking this stat from a defensive standpoint all year, but in the last 3 weeks, App has given up 10 third down and 8 or more plays. 22 of those total for the year. And that was an Achilles heel early on last week as well. And again, head coach Sean Clark, as the pass falls incomplete there, Sean Clark saying it's all about third down. That's what keeps you from winning a one-possession game on the road at Coastal, one-possession game on the road at Marshall, and you're talking about a completely different season and a championship chase and all that kind of stuff. If you could get off the field when you're supposed to, stay on the field when you're supposed to.
And you know, that's a perfectly logical explanation for a coach to give, and it's true. but you also have to throw in there that Appalachian has not run the football as well.
That's right.
This year as Appalachian normally does. I mean, you're talking about averaging only 186 yards per game. This is a football program that historically were, in the top 25, averaging 220, 225 yards per game. So that's a great answer, but it's a little more complex than that. And also too, those last 2 ball games, let's walk back. Those 4 ball games that you're talking about, you have a -2 turnover margin. Turn the ball over 8 times. Now, you also have a couple other things going on, but it's tough.
We'll debate it more. 27-7. Old Dominion calls timeout on 4th down here at the Rock. Decision time here at the Rock. 3:49 to play, 4th quarter. 20-point ball game. Old Dominion called a timeout. App State's going to punt the football away here on 4th down and 6. And Old Dominion's got just a little sliver of hope in there. Howell booted away. Remember, he had one blocked last week, and Old Dominion, one of the best kick blocking teams in the country. Isaiah Page with a short return. That will send us to one final timeout here in the 4th quarter. Can Old Dominion mount a rally? We'll find out when we come back to the Rock. Well, last week up on the Tidewater, Old Dominion said goodbye to 24 seniors. The Mountaineers doing the same thing here today. Some of you are senior Mountaineers, including A.J. Hall on that list. A couple pages full. There were close to 30 seniors that were honored. And Avery Hall won the award for the best dressed parent down there on the field during pregame festivities.
Boy, those other parents are in trouble if I won the award for best dressed. But no, it's a good group of seniors, and I'm really proud of these seniors. I mean, not just because my son's a senior. He graduated in May, but these seniors, I mean, think about it. In 2018, they were 11-2. 2019 they were 13-1, 2020 9-3, 2021 10-4, and this year's been a tough year, 5-5, but they won 48 of 63 football games, DJ, and that means out of 10 games they won 8. And so that's pretty impressive to win almost 80% of your football games. Winning in college football is very, very hard. So even though this is a down year for the Mountaineers, this senior class has represented the University of Will 3-1 in bowl games. They brought college game day to Boone. I mean, a win in Texas A&M, senior class bringing college game day to Boone. They got a lot to be proud of. I mean, a lot of fans are upset, but fans, they care about the 78-24 record, between here since 2015, the 58-15 in the Sun Belt. They care about all that, so that's why a lot of fans are very upset. But this senior class, you should celebrate this senior class because they've won 80% of their football games.
Wolf looking for that pass to Dietz. That's a catch at midfield, and on 3rd down and 10, Old Dominion keeps it alive. 3:19 to play. First down for the Monarchs right at midfield. Talked to Sean Clark this week about what he thought these seniors would be remembered for, and he said he thought that they would be remembered for overcoming things, whether that's coaching changes, COVID, a bowl loss, trying to define the legacy for the next generation. This group didn't have what you would call a normal trajectory. As Dietz underneath makes a catch and nearly runs out into open field. Nice saving tackle there by Nick Ross. That's near another first down gain though for Dietz.
But DJ, that's why I say this senior class needs to be proud. I mean, many adults, we stump our toe and our performance review at work is impeded. It's impacted, okay? But these kids, they've been through COVID. They had 3 different head coaches, 3 different defensive coordinators, 5 different offensive coordinators. And that has to impact development. That has to impact recruiting. It has to impact culture, but these kids persevere. They fought through it, and like I said, they out of 63 ball games, they won 48. And if you think about it, they're 7 points. They have 4 losses this year within 7 points, and 3 of the teams they lost to were ranked at some point. So it's not like they lost to Sisters of the Poor. But this senior class has a lot to be proud of, and there are maybe a couple Mountaineer classes that can say they won 80% of their football games. And what I mean by that, a lot of people between 07 and now can quip that, but not many can say they've won 80% or more of their football games.
Injury timeout here for Jalen McLeod coming off the field. Look at this matchup next week. Speaking of legacies, and one more time with a old mountain, or rather an old conference rival. These two have been together for a while now, App State, Georgia Southern, and there are going to be some marbles on the line next week. App State will need a win. If they can polish this one off, they'll need a win next week to get bowl eligibility. Georgia Southern and Marshall do battle. Should the Eagles lose to the Thundering Herd today, then Georgia Southern would need a win for bowl eligibility, and that would set up the winner-take-all showdown in Statesboro. Don't you know that won't be some just good old clean Sun Belt fun. 6 o'clock kickoff next week. Wolf looking for the end zone again and finds it, and Old Dominion's not done yet. Javon Harvey into the end zone for the 2nd time here in the 2nd half. And Old Dominion still got some time. 2:20 to go, down 27-13.
I mean, if they get the 2-point conversion, it's a 2-possession ball game, 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. So, they're onside kick it, and I mean, they can make the game interesting. I think Appalachian's going to win this football game, but again, it's going to be a 2-possession ball game after this extra point.
How about Wolf going for 308 in the air today with a pair of touchdowns? PAT attempts by Ethan Sanchez. Heads through the uprights. 2:20 to go here in the fourth quarter. That was a 6-play, 75-yard drive. Took 1:21 off the fourth quarter clock. And no matter what happens here, Ricky Ronnie, as you see, he is getting animated with his team. Saying, hey, we're not about to give up yet. 3-7 record, 2-4 in the Sun Belt. This Old Dominion team's legacy this year, no matter what happens, might be that taking to the woodshed of Coastal Carolina back on the Grand Strand, a 49-21 victory for Old Dominion that felt like it was actually a wider margin. I mean, they absolutely dominated that football game. Statistically, physically, everything. That was all Old Dominion. And that'll be part of what the building blocks look like for the Monarchs going into recruiting, being able to say, hey, you know, that team that you saw in the championship game, we beat them and then some.
That's right. That's right. And
always
again,
looking for something.
They can say we beat Virginia Tech. They can say, you know, we should have beaten Virginia. They kicked a field goal to beat us 16-14. So
onside kick comes. Logan Dublin with the reception of that, falls on it at the 49-yard line, and App State will get possession right on top of that blockade.
So this ODU team has a strong foundation to build on. I mean, like I said, they took Coastal to the woodshed, and then again they beat Virginia Tech, played Virginia within a field goal, and really played Liberty tough. And then the ECU game, they lost it, but ECU scored 17 points in the fourth quarter to kind of move ahead in that football game. But it was close in the first half. So, you know, and again, you got a school that's located in the Tidewater area. So if a school's located in the Tidewater area, they're going to have some good athletes, and they've got a good coach, so they're going to be formidable.
Chase Bryson at quarterback. Mountaineers trying to put it away here. Amani Marshall on the carry, dragging defenders across the 40-yard line. And Marshall will pick up 8 yards on the play. Give him 9. We'll call it 2nd and 1. Old Dominion calling a timeout here. Ricky Ronnie not letting anything get away with 2:12 to go. A stoppage of play. Give us a chance to kind of catch you up on some of the statistics of this game. Old Dominion has rallied to have a pretty nice statistical game from a total offensive perspective. That's something that they haven't had a whole lot of here lately. Again, go back to the fact that they were kept out of the end zone there for about 15 quarters by the time they finally got in there, but 308 yards passing today. Most of that, actually all of that, coming from Hayden Wolf. He's 22 of 38 in the passing game, 58% completion. 2 touchdowns in the air. Old Dominion still only rushing for about 86 yards a game, but that's creeping in on their season average. I mean, better than average day total offense. And they have limited App State really here in the second half to just the 3 points. The field goal by Hughes in the third quarter, the only points that App State scored here in the second half. Feels like, again, the Mountaineers have had a little bit more time, over 30 minutes of possession time in the football game. Marshall gets the carry, and that should move the chains. Give him a spot. Actually, that's not a very friendly spot.
It'd be nice to see Armani Marshall go over 100 yards. You talk about the spot here. It may not be a favorable spot, but you know, that's the one thing that you talk about ODU having.
Defense, number 6. That penalty's applied. Play resulted in a first down.
You talk about ODU having a respectable game relative to the metrics on the offense. I mean, 394 total yards, 308 yards passing. But, you know, Appalachians had a big day, 460 yards. The only issue, you know, 169 rushing. Some teams may be excited about that, but I'm sure most Mountaineer fans want to see, you know, Appalachian get up closer to 200.
Well, Monty Marshall, with that penalty decline, got his yard, and he is at 100 yards on the day. 16 carries, 100 yards, and a touchdown from Marshall, who will get the handoff and try to tack onto that, and he will do so, and then some. Still on his feet, 20.
Awesome.
Inside the 15. Amani Marshall putting a cap on an excellent day running the football for the Winston-Salem native.
Good vision, good job of getting in that hole, just really making a guy not be able to tackle him by a good stiff arm. And like I said, the reason why I get excited about, there's a Hall kid in there playing too. Those two guys played together in high school too, by the way, Armani and AJ. But you look at Armani, he's been patient as the running back room was full of talent with Peoples Nate Noel and Daytrick, but he's been, he's persevered and he's running hard, and it's nice to see him go over 100 yards today.
Marshall again up the middle, bouncing off of a tackler or two inside the 10 to the 8-yard line. That'll roll the clock inside 43 seconds. One more play for this football game. App State will get their 6th win on the season. Again, normally that would be bowl eligibility, but because of playing 2 FCS opponents in that quirky scheduling issue with Marshall, Mountaineers need one more to solidify postseason. They would have been in postseason every year of their FBS life if they can figure out a way to win one in Statesboro next week. Chase Bryce will have to snap it one more time. A 4-second differential in play clock and game clock. Handoff goes to Marshall. Churning, fighting to the 2-yard line. Did he stay on top of tacklers? It looks like they're going to down him at the 2. And the clock has rolled to 0. And that is how it'll end. So the Mountaineers of Appalachian State knock off Old Dominion, get back in the win column, and get their 6th win on the season, setting up an opportunity to get bowl eligible next week. Avery Hall, your final thoughts on this one?
I think a great win for Appalachian. Again, you play pretty good defense against a pretty decent Old Dominion offense that's been banged up, but great win. You get back in the win column. You get a chance to go down to Statesboro to play for a bowl opportunity. So lots to play for. Just a good football game.
6-5 are the Mountaineers now, while Old Dominion drops to 3-8 on the season. For producer Kevin Wilson, our entire ESPN and App Vision crew, it's been a pleasure bringing you these games this year. For my good friend Avery Hall, I am David Jackson saying so long from the Rock here in Boone. The final score, App State wins it over Old Dominion 27-14. All games airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN. Good night from the Rock.